Hi, I definitely didn't have the AutoTube running, and I definitely didn't need to get my PingTuber software running before the stream. Hi, everybody. Hi. Welcome. We are doing Interactive Entertainment issue 13 today. Hey, Navjack, Seraphis Kane, Margarine Luca, Clip the Jester, Zavorix, Navjack, Lelouch, Margarine Luca, Coonster, Seraphis Kane, Z Reserve, Lawatu. And who did I miss? Smooth W. Hi. Oh, and Big Bear Cave. I think that's everybody. Hello. Welcome, Mikey. Welcome, everybody. This one I'm actually really interested in because it's got an interview with Harlan Ellison in it, like an exclusive interview by the folks at Interactive Entertainment. So I'm pretty excited to see an interview with Harlan Ellison that I'm pretty sure hasn't gotten a lot of places. Oh, it's Canada Day today. Yeah. Yay. Happy Canada Day. Sorry, I'm not enthused because today's drink, y'all. Oh, what happened to Bleak? Why'd you get so big? Who did that? Not me. We need to make Mariah Carey normal sized. Okay, there she goes. Mariah Carey, I got bad news for today's drink. I have actually heard that today's drink doesn't taste good from Reddit. So let's take a look. It's clear whey protein flavored like Kool-Aid. I don't know about this one. I don't know about clear protein. Oh, and it's sugar-free, too. Okay. All right, here we go. Kool-Aid flavored protein. Kool-Aid flavored protein. Here, let me do some shaking action for all you ASMR freaks. Oh, you can't even hear me shake it. That's good. Okay, it's shaken. Okay, here we go. Oh, that's gross. It made a bunch of bubbles when I shook it. I guess that happens. Chat, can I just call this off? Can I just, stop stream? Okay, no, I'm doing it. Oh. What the? It is. How much artificial sweetener did they put in it? Because it tastes just like artificial sweetener and nothing else. It has. I'm not saying it has a milky aftertaste, but it's definitely a thickness to it that I don't think that consumers, I'm sorry for calling us consumers, maybe human beings in general, I'm not sure if human beings are ready for this. Now, I know bodybuilders like this stuff, but I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm a body watcher. I look at bodybuilders. I watch them. I don't actually do it myself. Will I finish this? I don't. It's the most expensive drink I've gotten for stream before. It was like $3.50, I think. So, but it's got 22 grams of protein, so it will fill me up. I want to thank Shaxpert for the 14-month resub. Thank you so much, Shax. I appreciate the long-time support. And yet, this is what I'm doing. The problem is, the drink isn't so bad, but it has a milky smell to it that just makes me feel sad. Hi, Lynx. All right. I'm going to have 3 big gulps of this. You know what, Clip? I was thinking about that. Hey, Dark Mex. I was thinking about doing a ranking of all the bad drinks I've had, like a streamiversary special. All right, I'm going to take 3 big sips of this, and then we're moving on. Oh, boy. Yeah, I've had $10 kombucha. Is that actually... Damn, what kombucha did you buy? I'm curious. I actually really like kombucha. There's a restaurant. Do you notice that I'm doing anything other than drinking this? I have it in my hand. I'm holding it. Okay. Maple blueberry flavored local kombucha. That actually sounds sick. This tastes like chalk in a way. Oh no. Oh, bad. I had a little burp with the flavor in it, and now I want to die. Oh, that's not good. Okay, this is definitely going in the... I disappeared for a minute. I was so bad I disappeared. Wrong button. All right. It reminds me of calcium carb... You know, Tums? It's kind of got that Tums vibe.
My life is nothing but pain.
Yeah, my life truly is nothing but pain. All right, you know what we're here for? We're here for interactive entertainment. We're here to interact with our entertainment. We're here to learn.
Running a little low on product.
We are running low on product. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Yeah, clear protein beverages generally taste like chalk. That makes sense. I know some bodybuilders like this stuff, and again, good for them. I'm glad they're getting their protein. But the aftertaste is for demons, I feel. All right, Xena, please save me. Oh, every bit of aftertaste I have just makes me so sad. Okay, I think audio levels are good. Actually, let me just... Oh, hold on one second. Let me just adjust one thing in the audio level. Let me turn down my horrible... There we go. Okay. All right, folks, it's time. It's time for Interactive Entertainment 13. So I've been doing this for 13 months, huh? Damn.
Welcome to episode 13 of Interactive Entertainment. This month featuring our interactive interview with noted science fiction author Harlan Ellison.
Crazy pull.
Flemington, New Jersey for our company profile of QQP. Our free game this month is Magic Candle 3 and our star attraction, Warhammer 40K.
Yeah, Warhammer 40K. Could you tell me about the Harlan Ellison interview? Like, that's crazy. That's a huge get for interactive entertainment. All right. We know we got to do first, though. Letters to the editor. Only a few this time. All right. How to lose friends and alienate viewers. You know this one's going to be good. Just purchased my first issue of IE 11, and I am rather disappointed. How can you include a free game with your CD mag and not provide any way of bypassing the copy protection on the game? Now, I have to call Herb Walker at Chips and Bits, who has already left for the day at 4:30 Eastern Friday. Guess now I have to wait out the weekend before I can get a hold of him. And then wait for him to mail me the copy protection information. What kind of show are you guys running? I expect an interesting magazine along with an out-of-print game that I've always wanted to play, and I get this? I'm real surprised that you have made it up to issue 11 by committing errors of this magnitude. Fiddle-dee course, I've been turned by a horse. Well, episode 11 was a complete product in and of itself. Although a free game was advertised as part of the product, we were in no way beholden to include the copy protection for that free game. As a gesture of goodwill, we will be making the copy protection available to our customers at Slap Hey. Who let the Sierra marketing guy in here? Sorry about that. Short and to the point. We goofed. We're human, or nearly so. It happens. We didn't actually omit the copy protection. We just forgot to tell you where it was and saved it in a format you couldn't read without the standard Windows Paint program. Yes, that's right, folks. We saved up all our blunder points for the year and spent them on that one episode. This was caused by inefficient QC procedures directly pertaining to maintaining sure you could bypass any copy protection on the free game. Unfortunately, we didn't find out about this until episode 12 shipped. As a result, there is also a problem with episode 12's free game, Heir to the Throne. As some of you now realize, you can bypass a CP using the copy of the manual we included on episode 12, but it's not easy. You will find a modified version of the Heirs to the Throne manual, which will make this easier in the manual directory of this disc. What can we say? We apologize for any inconvenience this caused those of you who were just dying to play Walls of Rome. The corrected picture with the copy protection for Walls of Rome has been included on this episode and can be found in the manual directory. To bypass the copy protection, you need to load up that picture in Windows Paint and print it out. Your letter raises 2 points in my mind, though. Does this mean you didn't get an interesting magazine in addition to a cool out-of-print game? I don't think we made it to issue 11 issues by committing errors of this magnitude. I'd say it was in spite of errors of this magnitude. Some of my long-standing letters column readers are no doubt fuming at me as they read this. I'm sure I'll get hammered for not getting annoying at what is essentially a nitpick of a fairly minor screw-up. Compressing all that video on disc at 1 frame per second, I know, that would be classic. Okay, I admit it. I'm annoyed. Not at your complaint, which is legitimate, but at your implication that everything ever to appear on any of our discs was inherently as mismanaged as a means of bypassing our free game that month. Call me judgmental, but don't you think you should actually look at some of our back issues before deciding they suck? TK. Outpost 1.5, where is it? A good question. Wait, these are opposite? Hold on, folks. Okay, these are they flip-flopped these. They did one of the classic political flip-flops. Sierra certainly cares what people think. With Outposts, there have been problems outside our control, which okay. I think this is where we start. A good question, one which thousands of angry Outpost fans ask every day. I know there are a couple of such fans here at the office. On their behalf, I regularly troll the Sierra forum on CompuServe. People there are fuming over the fact that no one would give them a straight answer. Well, it's gotten so out of hand that Ken Williams, president and co-founder of Sierra, stepped in with this reply. Sierra certainly cares what people think. With Outposts, there have been problems outside our control which have really gummed things up. When the article for Interaction was written, the programmers said they were within a day or two of finalizing version 1.5, but then it took another month. I spoke to them yesterday and they thought 3 more weeks at the most. Marketers have to make decisions on what programmers say. Sometimes the programmers believe what they are saying but are wrong. Coding on a complex product like Outpost isn't as simple as you would think. We do care. We're just trying to take our time on Outpost 1.5 and make it as great as it can be. The huge news is that the project has a major new designer, Gentry Lee. I think he'll make the game awesome. Ken. I'm confused as to what the actual question was, but that's fine. A few clearly worded suggestions. Internet header remove. Hello, my name is AM and I'm a customer. In your magazine, it said this was the place to send letters to. So here goes. I'd like to maybe offer some suggestions as to your magazine. I think it's good, and since it is on a revolutionary new format, I understand that you will still be trying to work the kinks out. Thus, I have a few suggestions. I have observed a lack of consistency in your reviews on numerous occasions. While some reviews attempt to be very humorous, others are very serious. Being more consistent in your style of reviewing would assist clarity. Also, I think more enunciation would be better. Some reviewers often sound like they are reading a script after being severely hungover. Making the review more conversational would add greatly to the article. Also, the interviews in question sound slightly unprepared. The reviewers don't focus on the actual game, but simply talk about it, not stating much to support their conclusions. Only when they really dislike a game, a surprising rarity, do they go into the specifics. A lot of times they give blanket statements describing what you do in the game, and in the last 10 seconds throw in a statement like, I liked it a lot, it was really great with graphics and gameplay. A review like this makes me question the depth of the reviewer's knowledge concerning the game. It sounds like an advertisement more than a review, and don't focus on the overall picture of the game itself. Again, the whole thing is about one thing or another thing that bothered them or that they liked, and at the end they slap on but the game itself is. This is not only awkward, but it just gives me the feeling of an incomplete review. You might want to look at the way CGW approaches reviewing games. They give the whole picture in the first 1 or 2 paragraphs, say what points they will cover, and then proceed to do so with a nice wrap-up at the end. This may be a format that would help your goal. That would help. Also, try to be a little more serious when doing reviews. I'm not sure exactly what your goal is, but if you are trying to entertain, hence the name interactive entertainment, then I suppose that is not so bad. But if you're trying to give a serious review, that really hurts credibility. A little humor is never bad. But when the whole thing is a series of bad puns or jokes, well, it tires quickly. The two guys who review games together are the ones that I think are the most guilty of this. I have noticed quite some inconsistency concerning the graphics of your reviews. You do have very nice screenshots in SVGA mode, and when I looked at the screens for Perfect General 2 and Lost Admiral 2, I almost wanted to go out and buy them right away because they looked so nice. However, almost all the other reviews in that issue, I'm using 7 as an example, are in letterbox format you seem to have as a standard. This format distorts the graphics of games and makes really beautiful graphics seem blocky, blurry, and low res. I'm sure SVGA graphics take a lot of space, but you may want to skimp on the interactive interviews and make sure all your screenshots SVGA, VGA full screen. The full screen shots are always a surprising contrast and look very nice. After all, if I'm buying IE to look at screenshots, I'd prefer not to have to squint at some blocky, blurred screens and try to imagine what the game will be like, but be able to actually see what I will see on my screen if I buy the game. I do not know how feasible this is logistically, but it certainly would be a very important feature for me. My God, this man doesn't shut up. Anyways, within 10 years of experience as an avid computer gamer and an internet user, I may be among your more demanding readers. I recall hearing you ask for reviewers, and I would be extremely interested in reviewing for your magazine. It offers many unique opportunities that other magazines do not and cannot offer because they are not given in a multimedia presentation. Please send me the pertinent information about becoming a reviewer for IE. Thank you for your time, and I hope the comments help. AM to CIS via internet. To CIS via internet. Great letter. I don't normally like to run long letters, but since you made all your points so clearly and I didn't have to retype it, here it is. In response to your specific points, I don't think consistency is a necessary thing in a product like IE. Some people like humorous reviews, some people don't. For that matter, some people find our reviews humorous, some don't. The guidelines we give to our writers are strict enough now. I wouldn't dream of handing them a product review and saying, okay, this article's got to make me laugh my ass off. Talk about a creativity killer. 2. I'm going to print out this paragraph and post it where all the writers can see it clearly at all times. It puts into words far better than I have been able to of many of the things I would like to see improve about IE. And while I do maintain that our purpose is to entertain first and inform second, a viewpoint which has caused me no end of grief from my coworkers since I first expressed it in this column, let me assure you, informing is a real, very close second. While I don't 100% agree that computer gaming world is an ideal example, I find their articles in general to be too long. I would say that this is something we all need to shoot for. All our games are shot in SVGA, that is to say, they are all 640, 480, 256 colors. However, if the original shot is only VGA, we double the size to make it fit the screen. Some VGA games are only 320 by 200 though, so we enlarge them. They're 640 by 400. We then add a 40 pixel black border on the top and bottom of the shot in order to preserve the aspect. So with a few rare exceptions, such as when we have scanned slides or digitized stills from videotape, you are always seeing a screenshot exactly the way it would look while playing the game. Oops, I fast forwarded too fast here. If we decide you're the one we want and vice versa, you'll move up to the lovely green hills of Vermont. To give you an idea of what this is like, go stick your head in a freezer for a month. 2 weeks of bliss, I'm getting paid to play games, are followed by stress, ulcers, job dissatisfaction, loss of sleep, destruction of all existing relationships in your life, attempted murder of your editor with a meat cleaver, imprisonment, therapy, etc., etc., etc. TK. Sorry, I was looking for an argument. Internet header hacked off. Hold on, the jester needs a sip of something, not protein. Give me a second. I have a delicious drink with me this time, so I have something nice and quite tasty. But I also have the horrible chalk drink next to me. It's staring at me, the Kool-Aid man reaching for me with his fist. Awful, awful man. Anyways, First off, I seem to be having problems with episode 11 when I run it in any mode other than the 640 by 480. It does not play at the opening or closing sequence. It just goes directly to the title screen when I click on the IE icon, and when I exit, all I hear is a second audio, and then it goes back to the Windows desktop. Also, the graphics quality seems to have gotten slightly poor. It looked more grainy than previous episodes. The picture of that dude on the cover had some pink near his beard. How can you say it's great that the Atari 2600 games are brought to the PC? The 2600 was never a good system, and television was a much better system. Saying it's great that 2600 games came to the PC is like saying it's great to watch cheesy black and white B-rated movies on HD TV. Most 2600 games were all the same, boring and simplistic. Why would you have to write drivers for every graphics card when all the good cards either come with a VISA driver or are VISA compliant at the hardware level? Anything that runs under Windows gets hampered because Windows slows everything down. Some of the guest runs under DOS and is way smoother than anything under Windows. Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective has much better quality animation than any video for Windows I've ever seen, and the video is perfectly synchronized to the audio. Can't say that about AVI files that are like watching a Japanese movie. AVI files have a very poor sound and video quality and are only 15 frames per second. The difference in sound quality between when you use a WAV file in IE and when you use video for Windows is like night and day. When you are not using a video for Windows, the quality of the graphics and audio is excellent. When I first picked up episode 2, I said to myself, finally, someone is taking advantage of the mass storage of CD-ROM and using a high sampling rate for digital audio. Camberdian, thank you for the 6-month resub. Act Twitching to send a notification to my phone. Well, welcome, Camberdian. Welcome. IE is a great mag, and I like how you are not wimpy and are afraid to say a 4-letter word now and then, and I like how you don't say every game is great. You give your honest opinion of a game. If it sucks, you say so. When are you guys going to get a direct internet address? Thank you. Thanks for your time, DJE, to Sis. Again, the dreaded Sis via internet. For your tech problems, please give us a call at 802-767-9144. How can you say those Activision 2600 games sucked? Sure, Intellivision was a better system, but I have to agree with the writer. Activision did the best games for the 2600, and most of them were good or great. Your comparison with black and white movies on HD TV, while pretty funny, just doesn't drive the point home. I hardly say River Raid or Pitfall was B-movie quality, just as there were some really good black and white movies. After all, these games sold a crap load, and it wasn't because they were pretty. We'd have to write drivers for every video card because we are trying to sell a product. What are we going to do? Put on the package, don't buy this unless you have a brand new video card that's Visa compatible? How would we make any money doing that? Well, making money at this isn't my first priority. It is nice to be able to hand my landlady a check at the beginning of the month so she doesn't sick the cops on me. And while there are many advantages of DOS over Windows, compatibility with a wide range of users' machines is clearly acknowledged as not being one of them. Ask any game company. Windows software packages routinely outsell their DOS counterparts by a wide margin. And software development packages for Windows give you access to a lot of standard window controls, such as buttons and menus, while in DOS packages, you have to create these things yourself. Need I go on? Likewise with AVI, if you are sticking with Windows, you have 3 choices for video: VFW, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, QuickTime, and MPreg. The software comparison isn't there for MPreg yet, and we happen to prefer VFW over QT. There are some acknowledged difficulties in working with AVIs, but we found that some of the audio syncing problems can be attributed to the fact that creating good AVIs takes an incredible amount of compression skill. In the past, I've thought of our video quality has been pretty high, although admittedly we've run into a couple of problems recently. Finally, if we didn't call a spade, there would be very little reason to buy over the inevitable crop of CD-ROM gaming mags that will doubtless appear in the near future now, would there? TK. Last, with all due respect, you know this is going to be sassy. Gentlemen, I I read reply to another reader's complaint that you are charging for vendors to place demos on your CD product. I subscribe to your product for 3 reasons. First, your excellent coverage of CES. No other magazine does it like you. Second, your candor matches some of the British PC magazines. When you do not like a product, you let us know why. Third, the demos on your disc save me valuable time. I do not have to pull them off of BBS or the internet, and floppy disk storage. Your selection of demos has gone from good to very bad since I subscribed. You have not included any demos for my favorite software vendor, Origin. I had to buy another magazine to get the demo of Wing Commander 3. Please reconsider your policy on demos and improve the quality and quantity, or I will not be renewing my subscription. If you will not include better demos, at least you could include some shareware or freeware to fill up the CD-ROM space on issues you do not fill with editorials and reviews. Your argument that this is the only way you can make money with this format magazine is ridiculous. Accepting standard advertisements and placing them in a digitized form in a section of the magazine should pay. If vendors are afraid that no one will go there to look at them, the vendors do not know their customers or yours. First thing I do with a new PC magazine is scan through all the pages to look at cool new advertisements for new products. I would probably do the same if you had any in your magazine. Sincerely, MT. Once again, to the dreaded cis internet. With all due respect, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Well, you said you admired our candor. Honestly, think about this for a minute. We've been in the CD-ROM magazine business for better than a year now. At the risk of sounding cocky, I think we can say that we know how to do a CD mag better than anyone who hasn't done one. And knowing full well that I'm sounding cocky, better than most who have. Just do digitized magazine ads. That's a keen idea. And hey, while we're at it, why don't we just dump this multimedia crap and do a CD full of text? Do you really think that we haven't explored these angles? We tried doing conventional ads for a while and nobody wanted to buy them. Now we're looking at finding ways to show our advertisers the possibilities inherent in interactive ads and hope to implement some cool ads soon. Incidentally, the magazine to which you're referring, PC Gamer, also charges for demos, albeit in a slightly different way. When an advertiser buys a full-page ad, they get a demo on PGC's CD. Surprised? To be fair, a recent selection of demos hasn't been as good as it could be. We're working on it. I'm glad you like the other aspects of the mag, and I hope you'll stick with us while we improve our selection. TK. And that was 19 minutes of letters to the editor. All right, good selection there that time. Really sassy, very honest. I like the guy who's like, I read all the advertisements. I open up a magazine and the first thing I do is read the advertisements. We have some good stuff here. So where to start? Let's start with Warhammer 40K.
For 10 years, the Warhammer series of miniatures games has been a favorite of tabletop gamers everywhere. The Warhammer medieval universe of orcs and elves has proven itself through time as an immensely popular game in a market full of such creatures. And the Warhammer 40,000 universe, known affectionately as Warhammer 40K with its Space Marines and Gene Stealers, has become very popular as well. Now Mindscape is hoping to take that popular appeal of Warhammer and translate it into the PC with its upcoming Warhammer strategy adventure titled Warhammer, and the first-person action shooter
Warhammer.
Warhammer 40,000 Dark Crusaders. Project manager Manny Granillo explains the first release, Dark Crusaders.
We're taking the Warhammer 40K world and bringing it to life with Dark Crusaders. What we're doing is
he on an airplane?
And,
he sounds like he's on an airplane.
An action engine around it to make an action-adventure type of product. The player is going to assume the role of a commander of the Dark Angels chapter that has been given a mission, only to discover that the mission really unfolds into this great ordeal. Then it comes to several star systems.
Oh, cool.
And he must, along with his fellow brothers...
More fuzz!
Attempt to discover the evil that permeates within and destroy it and cleanse it for the Emperor.
Although this is a first-person Doom-type game, the designers have designed it around a storyline developed for Dark Crusaders. In order to keep up technologically with the number of first-person action titles, the designers are throwing in a lot of interesting features. Most noteworthy is that unlike other first-person games, you are not alone in the environment.
The idea here is not in the sense of the Doom where you're coming up by yourself, or when you play with your
Yeah, did this not come out?
The idea is, before you go down on each campaign, you get to configure your battle squad. And so, at the beginning of every campaign or every mission, there's a different amount of resources you have available in your battle barge. Brothers that come with you from the main chapter planet. So you'll be able to.
All right, this got canceled. Okay.
Go down with you. Do I need to mix my squad?
That's actually one thing I really like about interactive entertainment is how many canceled games you see on this magazine.
That kind of thing. And you're controlling them through squad commands that you yell out to different formations and that you'll need to master essentially to really to survive.
Dark Crusaders will support up to 8 players via network. In team mode, each player can choose which type of soldier they want to be, and everyone works together against the enemy. In the free-for-all style of game, the players choose from 20 different characters, and everyone goes at it or mano-a-mano or in teams. Dark Crusaders sounds as if it'll be the most advanced first-person shooter when it's released. One thing you'll notice is that the walls are not flat. Dark Crusaders uses spline curves to achieve the effect of round and curved walls, so the environment is not limited to straight walls connecting at various angles. The effect will be actual round rooms, columns, bendy walls, spiral staircases, and escalators. The environment is also very interactive. If you encounter a wooden door and you have the right weapon, well, you get the idea. An effort has also been made
the Weird Boy
Warp a life
Heads
of their own. This means that those ugly space orcs won't be waiting behind the same door every time you play. They move and go about their own business until you can run into them, or they run into you.
Post a like
Manny
if you
also
are
told us
a
about the
Weird
audio
Boy
features of the
Warhead.
game. There will be stereo generation of sound effects, so if a fireball zooms by your head from left to right, you hear the fireball passing from left to right.
Sound is something for us that we consider extremely important. For example, when you're walking down hallways and whatnot, depending on what the floor is made out of will determine what the sounds you'll be making.
The second release of the Warhammer series will be a medieval strategy adventure game simply titled Warhammer.
That's not the voice of Cat. Oh, there he is.
Essentially, and all the strategy happens within the plot. And depending on how well you do,
another guy who's recorded while driving the car.
Succeeding with the plot, or you end up going down one of the fail routes where you're not succeeding. Although it's not quite as clear cut as that, because you can also take 2 slants. You can either be very mercenary, which means you just get as much money as you want, and you can play mercenary strategy. And that means you can buy the best equipment, you can buy the best troops, but you're not getting many honor points. You're in it for the money. And you can win the game on that slant, but you can also play an honorable game, which means you take the honor missions rather than the mercenary cash missions. Although you may not be able to buy the best equipment because you don't have the money, you will get very loyal troops who will actually fight better in the battle.
The game itself sounds reminiscent of Warcraft in that the combat occurs in real time and you give your troops orders as the battle proceeds. The designers are keeping pretty hush-hush about exactly how the game will play, though. One of the problems facing the design team was to keep the original feel of Warhammer for the folks who've played before, while making it accessible to someone who's never heard of Warhammer.
So essentially the first menu is very simple. You have defaults for everything. If you don't want to work with the statistics, you don't have to. Essentially you can just play the battles out. If you really want to get into stats, you can. There's layers behind everything. So if you really want to tweak everything, you can tweak to your heart's content.
Okay, so the FFV wasn't unused at least. Okay.
I did not want to have a game where you have to be so
Get the door!
that
It's
you have
Domino's.
to read through piles and piles of manuals before you could have any fun whatsoever. So it's been designed very much to get people into the game and then to discover the depth later on.
With all of the great art that went along with the original Warhammer series, the designers of the PC version had their work cut out for them to make a game that looks worthy of the original tabletop games. Games Workshop gave Mindscape's development team access to all of the original art and designs, so Warhammer on the PC would be immediately recognizable to anyone who's played Warhammer on their kitchen table. This means translating the art, characters, storylines, everything. Warhammer and Warhammer 40K Dark Crusaders are set to be released within a couple of weeks of one another.
Hey, Sigma.
October 31st, the release date for Dark Crusaders is being heralded as Dark Day. Keep in mind that next year the plans are
all right,
to
everybody
convert
prep
the
for
two
Dark
Warhammer
Day
universes, where Warhammer 40K is developed as an adventure strategy and Warhammer is made into a first-person action-adventure. It's not often that I eagerly await the release of games, but you can bet this pair of games will be on my PC as soon as I can get my hands on them.
Okay, so that's Warhammer 4K, a game that did not come out. What about ECTS Spring 95?
ECTS provides a semi-annual opportunity for Europe's game developers to get together and see what's new. While the computer trade show hasn't reached the size of its American counterparts, such as E3 and CES, it is growing rapidly. The show's organizers moved to a larger venue, London's Olympia Hall, for the spring show, which was held in March. In our special ECTS coverage in this episode of IE, we're concentrating on products that aren't familiar to our U.S. audience.
Okay, so it looks like this is just in the general thing, so we can actually go through this when we go through the rest of the articles. Okay. All right, here's what I'm excited about. Folks, the good folks at Interactive Entertainment, TK and Pals, somehow, some way, got an interview with Harlan Ellison.
This month's interactive interview features legendary science fiction author Harlan Ellison. He's written more than 50 books, and he has also written some of the most memorable episodes of the original Star Trek, The Outer Limits, The Alfred Hitchcock Hour, and The Twilight Zone. One of his most famous short stories is called I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. It's being adapted into a computer adventure game by Cyberdreams. In this interview, provided by Cyberdreams, Ellison talks about the game, as well as subjects ranging from American politics to dairy products.
Okay, so this was provided to them. They didn't actually do this themselves. It was provided to them. Oh boy, let's start. How long did it take to write the story of I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream?
I wrote I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream in one night, in one blue-white fit of passion. I sat down at a typewriter like Captain Nemo sitting down at his organ. I did Toccata and Fugue in D minor, and the next day, lo and behold, there was I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, and it's remained virtually unchanged from that first draft all the years that it has existed. It's now one of the 10 most reprinted stories in the English language. It's taught in hundreds of universities.
Is the computer game a better medium than the printed word?
I think the printed word is the perfect medium. I think a book is the perfect cassette. You can start it wherever you want. You can stop it wherever you want. You can run it backward any way you want. It has
a book is a form of cassette,
and
yes.
And color, and the characters look exactly as you wish them to look, and they sound exactly as you wish to hear them.
All right. Interesting questions. What computer games have created an impression on you?
There was a game I looked at called Wolfenstein. I probably shouldn't be bad-mouthing another game, but I looked at this and I found it certifiably demented. I mean, here is this thing where, people get large holes blown in them as they run around through catacombs, mit Nazis. And I thought, well, probably this was not the end result of us getting the opposable thumb.
Excuse me. I really like that. Do you think No Mouth will upset parents groups?
Parents groups exist to be alarmed. If they are not alarmed this week about a computer game, they will be alarmed this week about Dungeons & Dragons. If it's not that, it'll be comic books. If it's not that, it'll be television. If it's not that, it's going to be drugs. They're always concerned about something else rather than the fact that they don't know how to raise their children because they were bad children themselves and became bad adults.
Fucking go off, King. Why is television... Oh my God. So I don't know whether I should ask him about religion or why television is such a manipulative force. Both of these are going to have unhinged answers. Both? Okay, I'm going to try to do both of these.
I think that it is society's need to keep producing drones. Big business, multinationals, they need to have consumers. And that is what we are raised to be. From the moment we leave the womb, we are raised to be consumers of products. Whether it's 27 Spider-Man comics a month when the world only really needs one, or it's a new car every year, or it's, raspberry-flavored tampons, whatever it is, we are trained to buy.
What? Oh my God! Harlan Ellison, what do you think about the O.J. Simpson trial?
I love it when people say, he's innocent until proven guilty. No, fool. That's in front of the bar of law. He's innocent until proven guilty in front of the bar of law. But in the real world, if one looks and says, I don't know, quacks like a duck, waddles like a duck, sheds water like a duck,
It just seemed like another sad case of people killing each other.
Would say, Furman planted a glove.
Is it important to keep up with technological advances?
I think people should use the level of technology that best suits the job. Form follows function. If a shovel is going to dig the hole best, then you don't need a backhoe. If a typewriter can do the job, or a quill pen, or a computer, use whatever does the job. Form.
Do you have any major peeves about modern fashion? Oh, this is going to be good.
Whoever invented the idea of putting a baseball cap on backwards? You know, I'm out here driving in the valley last year with my wife, and it's 120 degrees. People are frying eggs on the sidewalk, and here stand two kids at a bus stop with their hats turned backwards, dropping dead of heat prostration, and I drive by and they go, "Turn the hat around, moron!" But they won't.
Are you planning any game projects in the future?
One game is all I'm ever going to do. I mean, I'm making this announcement right now, and I know the people at Cyber Dreams are going to love to hear this because they wanted to do a sequel to this. There will be no sequel as far as I'm concerned. There may be something in the contract that I don't know about that they can go for, but as far as I know, this is the game.
This is the gay. Is it true that science fiction writers predict the future?
Well, that's horse pucky.
There you go.
2,000 writers predicting everything wildly. It's a scattergun. Eventually, they're going to connect with a few things. Yes, Hugo Gernsback predicted night baseball. Yes, Jules Verne predicted the submarine. But Leonardo da Vinci predicted the parachute and the glider. Thinking about things and coming up with ideas has nothing to do with science fiction.
Okay, fair enough. Does one have to suffer to create great art? Before I do that, chat, if you're just coming in here, I'm drinking a horrible clear protein whey drink. It's really bad, and I'm gonna have a sip again. It's Kool-Aid flavored whey. This is what I need to know about Harlan Ellison's opinion on religion, because I do believe this drink proves there is no God. Yep, no God. No God at all.
I think that any product,
Oh, I picked the wrong question.
I don't care whether it's
Sorry.
peanut butter or computer
God.
games, can benefit from better storytelling.
I'm creating great art for
we
you,
are a
yeah.
storytelling species. That's what we
This
do.
is horrific. I'm going to go back and ask about great art.
Art should always
This
be
is disgusting.
You should pull it out with some pain. It should cost you something to produce
this is
art.
costing me something.
Otherwise, it ain't art. It's mediocrity.
Why do they make cheese in Wisconsin?
The reason that they make cheese in Wisconsin is that in the early, the early times when settlers landed there, they played out the wheat fields. They didn't know anything about crop rotation. So after a while, the wheat fields died. So they planted them in grasslands. And when the Swiss and the Scandinavians came over and they settled there, they liked it just fine because they liked tending cows. So they turned the cows out onto the grasslands, and that's why we have cheese in Wisconsin.
I guess I have to ask about the game now. Did you and Cyber Dreams have similar ideas about the game?
When David Sears began working on it, and I said to him, I want a game that you cannot possibly win. And he said, well, that might frustrate the player a little. I said, a noble endeavor as far as I'm concerned. What better fun is there than to frustrate game players? But he said, no, there probably should be a point to it.
Do you deliberately write to shock your readers?
I put things in everything I do that are intended to rattle the cage, stir the soup. People say, well, you only
stir
write
the
to
soup.
shock. Duh. Yeah, okay. I mean, that is a noble endeavor, to shock. I mean, there are already enough people in the world who will put you to sleep with their assurances. No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about the skinheads. Don't worry about fascism. Don't worry about the Ku Klux Klan. Don't worry about the far right. None of these things really matter. Everything is fine. That is not the way the world works.
All right, bro, go off. What are your thoughts on religion? Chat, this is probably going to be, I'm guessing this will be his most unhinged answer, but I'm looking forward to it.
The whole conception of a god is a way of copping out. If you can blame God or bad luck or the breaks or, some secret master or conspiracies or aliens, you don't ever have to take responsibility for your own life.
Okay, it wasn't as unhinged as I was expecting, but I guess, if you believe in aliens, you're just not taking control of your life. And honestly, yeah. How do you think the gaming audience will react to No Mouth?
If you like playing computer games, if you're into that kind of thing, this one will unravel your pantyhose. I mean, it is a real nice game to play.
My pantyhose? My pantyhose? Why are fewer people reading books these days?
We have produced several generations now, I think, of people who are sloppy. They would much rather sit on their asses and watch television or sit on their asses and play computer games than expend the effort to get themselves involved with the real interactive medium, which is a book. There's nothing more interactive than a book.
I love this man being like, get off the computer and read a book. And I'm like, I do both. I read on the computer. Why do you still write using him? I do like that he's like, you computer gamers, you're just sitting on your asses. You fucking suck. I fucking hate you gamers. Gamers could go to hell. And I'm like, that's a great, and God bless, man. Why do you still write using a manual typewriter?
I use these two fingers. I taught myself to type, and I type 120 words a minute with two fingers. I seldom make mistakes. I put foot-pounds of energy. When I hit the computer, the damn thing doesn't spring back, and so I make nothing but typos. I like to look at a manuscript. I like to look at the shape of an 8.5 by 11 page. It has meaning for me. It has vibrancy. It has life, and my energy is in every one of those keys. Every image that is struck on that page came from me hitting it like that. It is my foot-pounds of energy. My contact with my reader is closer in that way.
Do you have any previous experience with computer games?
I'm a visitor in this medium.
Okay.
I don't for a moment pretend to be a gaming person. The extent of my gaming experience is that coming back from England, I played Jurassic Park for 3 wasted hours on a plane, on a TV set about this big. And at the end of 3 hours, I said, how can people spend years doing this? It is an utter and absolute stupid waste of time.
Okay, first of all, I love his anti-gamer stance. Second of all, what Jurassic Park do you think he played on the plane? Do you think it was like the Super NES Jurassic Park? Do you think it was the Genesis Jurassic Park? I don't think it was the Sega CD Jurassic Park or the 3DO Jurassic. Well, I just don't think that a plane would be able to run a CD medium, but I could be wrong. Maybe the Game Boy Game Gear one. Yeah. Okay. I just want to know, but why do a computer game based on No Mouth?
Well, stupid, because somebody asked me to do it, Basically, it seemed like a good idea at the time. That and yo mama, put it away. I don't think about these things more than that.
Yeah, I don't think about things more. What is the character Ellen like in No Mouth?
Ellen is she's an ex, I guess she's a technician now, or she worked in an engineering firm. She's a black woman who has some strange and troubling things in her past, because in the game she is often immobilized by her own hysteria, and she doesn't know where it comes from, and her self-discovery of where it comes from is very important to proceeding in her track.
What is the character Ted like?
Ted is, I don't know, Ted is, I suppose, Robert Redford turned into a paranoid.
What is Benny like?
Benny has been altered by Am physically, so that Benny is now almost...
Yeah, I like that they're calling it No Mouth.
Half beast. He is completely a product of emotion now, and passions. He's sort of an idiot savant, and he's one of Am's favorite toys, which is not a good thing to be, because Am is mad as a computer guy could ever be.
All right. Did you write all the dialogue in No Mouth?
A lot of my dialogue in it. I mean, you'll hear my voice. Well, as a matter of fact, you'll hear my voice as the voice of Am, the demented computer. But in all of the dialogue, you will hear my smart mouth in the way I speak, and the way my stories read.
What is the character Gorster like in No Mouth?
I don't know how to introduce Gorster. Gorster is... I don't want to tell you anything about Gorster.
This interview rocks. What is the character Nimdok like?
He's the assistant to the butcher Mengele, and he is a man who has allowed to happen or has personally performed some of the most hideous acts that a human being can perform. And is there salvation for him within the confines of this game? Well, that's an interesting question, too, that the game will answer.
All right. What can you tell us about AM and No Mouth?
The computer, AM.
AM,
is demented.
sorry.
It's demented because the flaws in the humans who programmed AM have shown up in the computer. And as a consequence, its madness, its paranoia, its hatred of humanity manifests itself in a way that eventually leads it to destroy the entire human race. And because it is trapped in the center of the earth, because it has this giant intellect and can do nothing with it, it is forever a prisoner in its own madhouse.
Okay, what is the premise of I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream?
AM brings the last 5 people left on Earth, saves them, saves those 5 people, and brings them down below to the center of the Earth so that AM can torment them endlessly through all eternity, makes them almost immortal, so that their torment never ceases, and in that way AM amuses itself.
Is there a lot of difference between the original short story and the game?
The game is very different from the story in that we explore the backstory of all 5 of these characters. That's one of the major differences.
What was your first idea for the No Mouth game? The No Mouth game sounds like a TikTok challenge or something.
I originally said that what I want the game to be is not a shoot 'em up, an arcade kind of thing. What I wanted was a game that taught ethics. That if in fact you could not win this game, at least you could lose better. The more ethically you played, the better choices you made as a human being, the better you could wind up. As it turns out, there is a different ending now. The game has evolved.
How much of the No Mouth game is your creation?
I wrote the initial dialogue. I wrote the initial scenes. I conceived of many of the smaller things.
I think we know the answer to this one, but are you much of a game player?
The word game, bothers me. Games. Games are what you use to while away your time. Games are what divert you from the important things in life.
I love his hatred of games. Anyways, why did you put references to the Holocaust in No Mouth?
I use the trope of the Holocaust frequently in my work. And when someone says, well, it's going to trivialize it because it's in a game, nothing can trivialize the Holocaust. I don't care whether you mention it in a comic book, on bubblegum wrappers, in computer games, or write it in graffiti on the wall. Never forget. Never forget. And putting it in this game is intended to annoy people, to shock people, to upset people.
Okay. What kind of graphics are featured in No Mouth?
How the hell do I know? I'm not, I told you I'm not a computer guy. I designed the story. I did the dialogue. I invent all the stuff that's going to get Cyber Dreams in trouble. But I have no idea.
All right. I'm not going to lie. I kind of want to get a clip of Harlan Ellison going, how the hell do I know? As a redeem, I'm sorry. How the hell would I know? I'm not a computer guy. What sort of game is I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream?
The game is intended to keep you at a tilt from the start to the finish. This is the sort of game that Franz Kafka would have either written or enjoyed playing, I think. It is not a game to put you to sleep. It's not
good.
It's not Donkey Kong, and it definitely is not the Mario's.
It's not Donkey Kong, and it's definitely not the Marios. I love all of these answers. They're so good. This is one of the best interactive interviews I've ever had. What is the visual tone of No Mouth?
There's an eerie look to this game. Eerie look. But maybe it's just because I'm unfamiliar with the way games are supposed to look, because I haven't played that many. But when I look at the actual games of the character on whatever track moving through, I think, God, that's really bizarre. It's strange, because the movement is not, it's very much like, it's a simulacrum of life. It's not lifelike, like say a Disney cartoon. There's a jerkiness to it because it's computer generated, but that in some way enhances the strangeness of this story.
What is the overall theme of I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream?
This is a game that says the human condition is composed of unequal parts of courage and friendship and ethics and self-sacrifice and brutality and bestiality and degeneracy and mendacity. That is what I think is the nobility of this game. Understanding, in however small measure, that we are not alone, that we are all inside the same skin.
Why is the mad computer in No Mouth called AM?
The machine can think. Therefore, it thinks. I think, therefore, I am. But it also stands in the original story for Allied Master Computer.
Oh, it's Allied Master Computer. Do you think people will enjoy playing No Mouth?
It is a game, as I am told by people who have played it and programmers, that it's a game unlike any other game around at the moment, and I guess that's a good thing.
Do you have any particular aspirations for No Mouth?
It would be my delight if this game set a trend and all of the arcade bang games that turn kids into pistol-packing papas and mamas were subsumed into games like this, in which ethical considerations and using your brain and unraveling puzzles became the modus operandi. It would be my pleasure if that was it. I don't think it'll happen. I think you like being diverted too much.
And folks, that was Harlan Ellison, author of I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. That is my favorite interview in the entirety of interactive entertainment. So much good stuff. He talked about Wisconsin cheese. He talked about how this game ain't no Donkey Kong. He talked about his hatred of gamers, how he doesn't know what the game is like, but he does know what the game is like. We need more interviews like this. I want more interviews where they ask the guy about religion. That's good. All right, last but not least, we've got the QQP company profile.
Located in Flemington, New Jersey, Quantum Quality Productions has developed a well-earned reputation for developing some of the best and most addictive strategy games on the market. The staff is eager to chalk up the small company's fast success to focusing on solid game design instead of gimmicky fads and pretty pictures. Now, with their recent merger with American Laser Games, QQP will have much greater distribution and access to more sophisticated technology. Will it change their style? Not likely. This is not your normal company.
This ain't your normal New Jersey company. All right, let's look at their upcoming products.
Now we have Perfect General 2 that's just about to hit, and that is a really, really big game.
With Perfect General 2, we've added a whole plethora of new items. We've added air support, offshore bombings.
They added offshore bombings.
Elephant tanks, as well as a couple of other new units that really round out your arsenal quite well. We've improved the modem playability of it, making it a lot stronger. We've added new graphics. We've even added zoom-in features so you can really get close into the battle to see the carnage going on. We've added hints from generals.
Real generals?
Here. We've added all kinds of hints from them. We've added 3D animation as an intro. We've added new sound support, as well as the game playability has changed a little bit. What hasn't changed is its beer and pretzels nature.
Beer and pretzels nature, baby.
I love the game passionately. We also have Lost Admiral 2, which is a very graphically rich game and also a very in-depth game, much superior than the original. That's going to be coming out in a couple months. And we also have the Card Player's Paradise, which is just about the first card-playing game that you can play by modem, whether it's Pinochle or Rummy or Casino and whatever.
What?
And terrific AI in this game also. There's many ways of playing these games, whether it's on a world-class tour or a maze, a garden maze, and it's another exciting game. We have Awful Green Things, which was a large board game hit in the early 80s that we're going to be coming out with in the next few months.
Never heard of it.
It's just a very good-looking game, a lot of fun to play. It's got quite a following, that particular game. We'll have options and variations that only the computer can do to make the games better here and there, as well.
He does look like Tim Conway.
We also have Battles in Time, which we hope will be releasing early to midsummer, which is a big game that is a total new game concept in strategy and tactics. We also have Visions of Glory, which is a game, if I have this right now, I'm not sure, that up to 40 players can play this game at one time on the internet type of thing. Northlands. It's a role-playing type of game that is quite unique, never been done before. Beautiful, beautiful graphics and sound, and a game concept that's really new, and we're very, very excited about that.
So, chat, I think my I'm gonna check something. I think I may have left on the setting with Windows where it changes your theme every month, and I think it may have just changed my theme. So that's cool. Sorry, Xena, you're gone. You've been replaced with music? I don't know. Anyways, Great American Wonder.
When QQP moved into their new digs back in 1993,
It's
it
huge.
was so founder Bruce William Zaccagnino could pursue another of his passions, model railroads. He was already the builder
Oh,
of the
yeah,
world's
this
largest
guy.
model railroad several years ago. That setup was in Europe, and the proceeds from admissions were donated to charity. When the Great American Wonder is completed this summer, it'll be 15 times larger than the earlier railroad. It takes up the vast
Northlands.
majority of the QQP facility, and the walking tour is over a mile in length. These
Jesus.
massive landscapes will be home to 125 trains, mostly in HO scale. There are over 400 bridges, some of which are 17 feet long and 6 feet high. The mountains can reach as high as 15 feet, and the amount of wood it took to make this monster could build 40 houses.
This place still
The tour
exists.
also
You can go
includes
see
this
it.
small theater, complete with an old-style theater pipe organ. Bruce is an accomplished player and plans to show silent movies so that he can provide the score. The theater will
that'd be
also
sick.
used by the Flemington.
I would really like to see that, honestly. Let's see that big merger.
We become a subsidiary with American Laser.
It's true. It is magic.
And that was done so that we can do what we do best, which is design games. And what American Laser takes care of is the administration. They take care of all the distribution and things like that, the things that they're very good at. And again, it allows us to do what we do best, which is create great games.
Well, that's a win-win situation. They have a lot of technical resources. We think we have a lot of gameology. We put a lot of heart and soul into making our games with a lot of depth.
Yeah, a lot of American Laser games they're the shoot 'em up type of games, which are extremely good.
This guy doesn't agree with Harlan Ellison.
They go after a different audience than we do, so it's not like the games are in competition or anything of that sort. It really is. It's a wonderful marriage.
They need more depth in their games, and we need more technology in ours. So it's a good situation.
Chat, it's a good situation. Let's check out the work environment.
QQP was started in President Bruce William Zaccagnino's home.
Cool.
And the comfortable atmosphere has definitely made the transition to the company's new facility. In fact, the Zaccagninos now live in the office. The center of the facility looks a lot more like a well-furnished house than a business. The only evidence of the company here is the ever-present computer here doing a final playtest.
Broly 87, thank you for the follow.
Through a door, and you find yourself in the office proper where QQP's games are being created and sold. Even here, at the heart of the business, an odd sense of humor pervades the atmosphere. But when the job gets to be too much, there's always the recreation room, complete with a dartboard and pool and ping pong table.
All right, awards. Look at these awards. Good. All right, that was there. Let's listen to Bruce Williams.
Well, we had the Perfect General was a tabletop board
Sorry,
game
not
that we played
Broly.
for 13 years.
Sorry to call you
with a bunch of
Dragon
enthusiasts.
Ball.
We play it usually once a week, and every 3 or 4 months we had a new scenario, and referees to time the moves and all that and so forth. And over those 13 years, we developed a very refined gaming system that turned out to be a lot of fun. And we decided it's time to put this onto a computer version and let the world enjoy the game, and which we did. So we sought out programming teams that were available, And we got together, and on we went. Okay, QQP we started about 3.5 years ago. We came out with our first two games. We entered onto the market with our first two games as Perfect General and Lost Admiral, both very successful games for us. And from there, right after that, we developed a game called Solitaire's Journey, also very successful, and we've gone on from there. Started in our house and had a little offices in our home. And then a couple of years ago, we had the opportunity to buy this piece of ground, and we put on we put this building, which has a theater inside of it and a model railroad. It'll be the world's largest model railroad.
It's so interesting that
we live here, and we also have our QQP offices here.
That the railroad still exists, but the game company doesn't.
And with this kind of commitment to making high-quality, in-depth games, we do get a lot of awards from different companies and magazines that like our stuff, as well as the public. So we're very fortunate.
And let's hear from Steve Cohen.
I've been here since the inception of the company in '91. I was working at a computer store and peddling software, and Bruce came in and was talking to me a little bit and started beta testing one day, and that led to 2 days, and so on and so forth. And then I became tech support, and my involvement in the game design kept on going up and up, and then I became vice president of operations, and that's where I am now. I've been tied up in game design, manual direction, coordinating some of the art as far as getting it to the proper places, making sure
I want to pedal.
Come from the programmers at the
I want to
proper
pedal
time,
goods.
Get to the proper machines, beta test coordinating, talking with reviewers and press in general, taking care of a lot of shows, and just doing any one of many tasks that are needed. You just have to do what you have to do in order to get things done. And being from a company like QQP, we all wear many hats because we all want.
I bet they don't wear many hats. I bet they wear their ball caps backwards.
We went all CD-ROM because, well, several reasons. The first of all, a lot of stores have been moving towards the CD-ROM only platform, and so they're carrying smaller and smaller sections of 3.5-inch discs. Also, this going to CD-ROM allows us to offer more scenarios. The CDs are also much more durable, and so you don't get halfway through the install program and notice that one of the discs are bad. It's much more reliable, and it's just a better platform to work with. It also allows us to eliminate our copy protection. It's just a better medium to program on. We all here
he loves CDs.
Great friendships with all of the people that work in QQP, and we're none of us are petty, and we all get along very well. So that makes us even more efficient, and thus we don't mind, coming in on weekends to work with each other to get things done.
No, don't crunch.
One of the corporate philosophies, or one of the business philosophies that everyone here has, is that this is pretty much a long-term position. We've actually never had anyone go from this office.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So anyone who comes here pretty much is here, and they enjoy themselves enough that they usually do stay for quite a while.
That's remarkable.
We don't operate.
Yeah, it sucks that they were shut down so soon after this. Let's check design teams.
We have quite a number of programming teams across the United States and in other countries, and I think we have anywhere between 10 and 14 programming teams around the world, working on various different projects. Some of the groups are working on multiple projects.
Well, we have a team in Maine. We have 3 teams here in New Jersey. We have 2 teams in Seattle, 1 in San Francisco, 1 in Germany, 1 in Hawaii, and 1 in China. And 1 in Minnesota.
That's a lot of
Wisconsin.
teams.
I'm sorry, it's Wisconsin. And Chicago. I'm sorry. We have a team in Chicago also.
Okay, and that is QQP. All right, folks, let's get started on news. Let's do the news.
While Descent is currently topping the charts for PC entertainment products, Interplay has signed an agreement with the developers Parallax to publish and distribute their next 4 titles, as well as an exclusive license to produce up to 6 new products based on the Descent engine. Interplay has also acquired the rights to the eagerly anticipated film Waterworld starring Kevin Costner.
Yeah, buddy,
Interplay will be
Waterworld.
producing 2 radically different titles based on the Waterworld license. An action-adventure for PC, CD-ROM, 3DO, and PlayStation, and a strategy game for PC and the Mac CD-ROM. If you're pining for a Star Trek fix, never fear. Andover, New Jersey-based QVoice has brought their voice recognition technology to the Star Trek universe with the Deep Space Nine voice print security program. Deep Space Nine Voice Print is a Windows screensaver which uses voice recognition technology to prevent unwanted snooping when you step away from your machine. Voice Print features hand-drawn artwork based on the characters, ships, and logos of the television show, as well as the voice of Majel Barrett, who played the role of the ship's computer in the original series. DS9 Voice Print requires a sound card with a microphone. Virgin Interactive Entertainment and Papyrus Design Group, creators of IndyCar racing and NASCAR racing, have extended their distribution agreement. Under the terms of the new agreement, Virgin will distribute Papyrus's next 2 titles. No word yet what those titles are likely to be, but we may have more information following the Electronic Entertainment Expo in May.
Ooh,
Things are
E3.
heating up for Blizzard Entertainment. Their groundbreaking first PC title, Warcraft: Orcs and Humans, has generated acclaim from all over the industry. Blizzard recently announced that they're moving Warcraft to the Mac, and that the sequel, Warcraft 2: Tides of Darkness, will be available by Christmas. Activision has entered into an agreement with Shiny Entertainment, developers of last year's Smash SNES hit Earthworm Jim, to develop a state-of-the-art engine for the Sega Saturn, Sony PlayStation, and Nintendo Ultra 64. Activision has also demonstrated its commitment to new gaming platforms by acquiring the rights to produce a Windows 95 port of Earthworm Jim. This title, along with Activision's own Pitfall: The Mayan Adventure, is slated to be released simultaneously with the release of Windows 95, currently slated for August.
All right.
In response to the success of its live-action football product, Accolade has announced the imminent
Dime,
release of
dime,
All-Star
dime,
Baseball.
dime.
Like live-action football,
Dime,
baseball
dime,
features
dime,
digitized
dime.
video footage of real athletes performing every possible combination of plays that can occur in a baseball game. Like many recent Sports Accolade titles, All-Star Baseball features commentary by Al Michaels. You have to reverse the curse of the evil pharaoh in Panasonic's Seal of the Pharaoh for 3DO.
Hey,
This
Seal
title
of
is
the
a weird and wondrous
Pharaoh.
role-playing game imported from Japan. Things are getting a little mystical on the 3DO with the release of Myst, the hybrid
Myst.
adventure from Cyan and Panasonic.
Yeah,
The
System
3DO
Saycom
version remains
spotted.
faithful to its PC counterpart, but all the images are in high resolution displayed at blazing fast speed. If you haven't played this incredible journey before, the 3DO version is simply an impeccable conversion. Even the Kilrathi have clawed their way onto the 3DO and are ready to duel with you in Wing Commander 3, due for release shortly on 3DO. For those of you who just couldn't get the PC version running at a respectable speed, the 3DO version is much swifter to load, and you'll never have to utter the words autoexec or config.sys again. All indications are that the 3DO version will allow for 24-bit color depth and have a fully encoded Dolby surround sound music track. Creative Labs has blasted the 3DO onto the PC with
3DO
their
Blaster.
3DO Blaster expansion card, which allows 3DO games to be played on any PC equipped with this card and a Creative Labs CD-ROM. Unfortunately, at this point, the 3DO Blaster only works with Sound Blaster and Creative Labs CR563 CD-ROM. And if you don't have that hardware,
I want
the card
this.
simply won't function.
Oh.
Nonetheless, it's very impressive to see a 3DO game running full screen under Windows without any slowdown whatsoever. Included in the bundle are the games Shockwave and Gritters.
All right, if we want to play Gritters, you know where to go. All right, it's time to go to the articles. And folks, I think I am okay. We got a bit to go. I think that the clear protein has done a number on me, so I am going to break for intermission. When we come back, we will finish our look at Interactive Entertainment issue 13, go through all the reviews, and skip the hints and tips. And for intermission, I have another tape filled with huge inaccuracies and lies and all that good stuff. I know you love grifters and their tapes. This one is called Dead Doctors Don't Lie, and I've decided to play it along with hold on, let me pull it up here, along with an album named Zodiac that features some really interesting new age music. It was uploaded also by Vista Group, so I thought I'd mix them together to create a beautiful soundscape for this flim flam. So I'll be right back in about 10 minutes. See ya.
Going to explain to you tonight not only about cardiac myopathy, but many other things. I pray that you listen closely and carefully, because what you're going to hear may save your life or the life of your loved one. Dr. Wallach in 1991 was nominated for the Nobel Prize. He's had many, many fabulous things in his life. There's no way I can tell you how pleased I am to have him here in Kansas City tonight. And I want to turn the time over now to Dr. Joel Wallach. Would you all give him a big hand?
Well, I'm certainly glad you're here. How many of you grew up on a farm or still work a farm or have anything to do with livestock? Well, I'll tell you what, you're my kind of people, because I grew up on a farm in West St. Louis County back in the 50s. And we started out with beef calves. And if you raise livestock, the only way you can make money is if you raise a lot of your own feed, for those of you who don't have that experience. And so we raised our own corn, and we raised our own soybeans and our own hay. And we had a truck come out from the mill, and this truck would come out from the mill, and it would grind up the corn and the soybeans and the hay, and then we would add sacks of vitamins, minerals, trace minerals, and we'd make pellets out of it, and this is what we would feed the calves. And in 6 months' time, we'd ship them to market to be slaughtered, or we'd save back some of the best ones for ourselves. We'd knock them in the head and eat them, put it bluntly. And it always fascinated me as a teenager that we did that for those calves, and in 6 months ship them off to be slaughtered, or we'd eat them. And we wanted to live to be 100 years of age without any aches and pains. And guess what? We didn't take any vitamins or minerals. And that bothered me. So I asked my dad, I'd say, hey, Pops, how come you do that for those calves, you don't do that for us? And he'd give me this good old Missouri farm wisdom. He'd say things like, shut up, boy. You're getting this farm fresh food, and we hope you appreciate it. And, of course, I was very quiet then because I didn't want to miss out on any meals. Well, then when I went to school, I went to the University of Missouri at the School of Agriculture, and I got my degree in agriculture. And it was very interesting to me that I got my major in animal husbandry and nutrition. My minor was in field crops and soils, and then I got into veterinary school. As a freshman veterinary student, I learned to answer to my question. And the answer is this: we know how to prevent and cure diseases in animals with nutrition. And the reason why we do that is because we don't have major medical, we don't have hospitalization, Blue Cross Blue Shield, we don't have Medicare, we don't have Hillary to watch out for us. If you're going to make money as a farmer, you better know how to do stuff yourself, and you better do it efficiently with feed and nutrition if you can. Well, to make a long story short, after I got out of veterinary school, I went to Africa for 2 years, and I was able to fulfill a boyhood dream. I was able to be a Frank Buck for 2 years and work with Marlin Perkins. Many of you will remember him from the Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom, and he's a great gentleman. And after 2 years of working with elephants and rhino, people used to ask me, are you a small animal vet or a large animal vet? Well, I would tell them I'm an extra large animal vet because I worked with elephants and rhinos. Well, after 2 years, he sent me a telegram and said, would you come back to the St. Louis Zoo and work with us? We need a wildlife veterinarian at the zoo for a special project. We were given a $7.5 million grant from the National Institutes of Health, and what we need is a veterinarian who will do autopsies of animals that die of natural causes in the zoo. Oh, I was just overjoyed to do that, and so I came back and did that. And of course, I not only did autopsies for animals that died in the St. Louis Zoo, but the Brookfield Zoo in Chicago, the Bronx Zoo in New York, the National Zoo, the LA Zoo, and so forth. And my job, again, was to do autopsies of animals that died of natural causes in the zoo and look for a species of animals that was ultra-sensitive to pollution. This is because during the early 60s, we had just learned about pollution and ecological problems and disasters, and nobody quite knew what to do. And so I was supposed to find a species of animals that was extra sensitive to this and use them much like we did the canaries in the mine. You know, the old Welsh coal miners used to put a canary in a little wicker cage and take it down in the mine, and if methane gas or carbon monoxide would leak into the mine, the canary would drop off the perch and die first, and the men knew to get out before the mine blew up or they suffocated. Well, again, to make a long story short, over a period of some 12 years, I did 17,500 autopsies on over 454 species of animals and 3,000 human beings who lived in close proximity to zoos. And the thing that I found out was this: every animal and every human being who dies of natural causes dies of a nutritional deficiency. And that fascinated me. It took me back to those calves. I said, gee, that's fascinating. Everybody's dying of nutritional deficiencies. And we could document this at autopsy, both chemically and biochemically and so forth, and things that you saw with the eye at the autopsy table. Well, that fascinated me. And I wrote 75 scientific articles. I wrote 8 multi-author textbooks and 1 textbook of my own. Cost $140 for medical students, and I'm sure the only thing they do is use them for door stops. And it couldn't get anybody excited. I was on 2020. I was on 1,700 newspapers. I was in magazines. I was in every new network TV that you can think of. And guess what? Couldn't get anybody excited back in the 60s about nutrition. So what I did was went back to school and became a physician to use everything I had learned in veterinary school about nutrition in my human patients. And to no surprise to me, it worked. I spent 12 years up in Portland, Oregon in general practice, and it was very fascinating. What I'm going to share with you tonight is what I learned over those 10, 12 years using nutrition with my human patients. And if you take home only 10%, it will save you an enormous amount of unnecessary misery. It will save you a gob of money, and those of you in Missouri know what that means. A gob means a lot. And it will save you, and in fact, it will add on many healthful years to your life, okay? It'll add many healthful years to your life. Well, you can't do this. You can't get these healthful years, and you can't have longevity. You can't live to your genetic potential just falling off a stump. You have to do some things. And the first thing I have to do is convince you that it is worth doing these things. And I'm going to start out by convincing you that the genetic potential for human beings is 120 to 140 years, our genetic potential for longevity. Okay, 120 to 140 years. There's no less than 5 cultures whose people live to be 120 to 140. Starts out in the Tibetans in Western China. These people were popularized back in 1934 by James Hilton. He wrote a book called The Lost Horizon. Many of you will remember reading that. It was a Pulitzer Prize-winning book way back then. And they did a movie of that in 1937. It's a very long movie, about 3 hours. You can get it from any Blockbuster video, and I would encourage you to get it and look at it when you have 3 hours. It's a great movie. And the oldest living person that has some documentation, I'm sure there's a certain amount of exaggeration in there, but there is some documentation, was a fellow, a Dr. Li, L-I, from China along this Tibetan border. And this fellow, when he was 150 years old, quote unquote, received a big certificate from the Imperial Chinese government. He was born in 1677. 150 years later, he was given a certificate by the Imperial Chinese government for being 150 years. And then when he got to be 200 years, they sent him another, 50 years later, they sent him another certificate. And supposedly he died at age 256. And as people of that nature, he was written up in the New York Times in 1933 when he died, and the London Times. And so this is fairly well documented. But he may have only been 200 years old. I don't know if he was 256. But this is the person that led James Hilton to write that story. Then, there's in 1967 or 68, there was a remake of that movie. It was a color version. If you haven't seen that, it was called Shangri-La. I'd urge you to see that. Then in eastern Pakistan, there's a group of people called the Hunzas, and these people are very famous for longevity, 120 to 140. If you've been in alternative health for any length of time, you've heard their name at least. Then in what is now Western Russia, it used to be the Soviet Union, the Russian Georgians were made famous during the 70s by Dannon yogurt. You remember the old Crimea War veterans, they'd get their uniform on, they'd hold a saber up, and they would get a cup of Dannon yogurt and smile a lot, and you're supposed to make the mental leap that it was the Dannon yogurt that made them live to be 120. Then just south of them, the Armenians, the Abkhazians, and the Azerbaijanis are famous, at least in the Soviet Union. They were studied for some 60 years because they routinely lived to be 120 to 140. In fact, in 1973, the January issue of the National Geographic, 1973 January National Geographic, did a special article on people who live to be 100 and are older. And they featured these people, and there's a great pictorial article. You know, National Geographic is very good about coming out with pictures. And 3 of these dozens of pictures that were in that article, I remember one of them was a lady who was 136 years old. She was sitting in a wicker chair with a big Cuban cigar in one hand and an 8-ounce glass of vodka in the other, and she was partying. She was having a good time. She was not in a nursing home, all slouched over and you know, ready to have somebody take another $2,500 out of her checking account. She was enjoying herself at 136. Then there was a semicircle of couples, boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, and they were celebrating their 100th and 115th and 120th wedding anniversaries. Then the third picture that I remember is a gentleman who is picking tea leaves up at the timberline in the Caucasus Mountains in Armenia, and he was listening to one of these little transistor radios back then, and according to his birth records and baptismal records, his military records, and the birth records of his children, the National Geographic said that he was 167 years of age and the oldest living person at that time. Well, in the Western Hemisphere, the Vilcabamba Indians in Ecuador are very famous. They live in the Andes. And then in southeastern Peru, my favorites, the Titicacas, I just like them because I like the name. They're sort of east of the Machu Picchu, the old community. The Titicacas live around Lake Titicaca. And of course, they're very famous for living to be 120 to 140. Well, in May 11th, just about a month ago, the oldest living American at this time and documented through the Guinness World Book of Records was Margaret Skeet. She was from Radford, Virginia. She died at age 115, and she died of a nutritional deficiency. You can tell that from her obituary. She died of the complications of a fall. What did she die from? Osteoporosis, very good. She died of a calcium deficiency. She had no heart disease, no cancer, no diabetes, no other infirmities, but she died 3 weeks after a fall because she didn't have enough calcium. Very interesting. Also, her daughter said that she had a craving for sweets until she died, and that's a disease called pica. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but usually when you have a craving for chocolate, if you're a chocoholic or a sugaraholic, that means that you have a deficiency of chromium and vanadium, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Then in a third world country, in Niger, in Africa, a chief by the name of Bauer, at age 126, was eulogized by one of his wives, so I assume it was plural, it had many wives, and she was bragging about him at his death at age 126. He was still in possession of all his own teeth. Okay, so you assume that other faculties are working too. Then here's a gentleman from Syria at age 133. He died in July of 1993, and he was in the Guinness World Book of Records, not because he was 133. There's been many people live longer than that. Not because he remarried for the 4th time at age 80, but because he fathered 9 children after the age of 80. And this meant if you add up 9 months for each child and a year for breastfeeding for each one and a year between each one of the children, he was still fathering children after age of 100, and that's what got him into the Guinness World Book of Records. So there's still hope for you fellas. Then those of you who like science, in November of 1993, those 6 Biospirians came out of that dome in Arizona. They were in there for 2 years, 3 couples, and they were supposed to eat the perfect food and recycle the atmosphere and grow their own food and whatnot and have no pollution in their water or air or food. And when they came out, they were examined by medical gerontologists from UCLA, University of California at Los Angeles, and they put all this information, their physical and their blood work and so forth, into the medical computers at UCLA. And the medical computers said that, and projected that they could live to be 165 years old if they continued to do what they were doing. So all of that just says to you that there's a possibility you can live to be 120 to 140. And when I grew up on the farm, we could grow 200 bushels of corn per acre, and with all the labor and all the fertilizer and everything else you did, you could make a profit if you grew 200 bushels per acre. But if you only got 100 bushels per acre and put out that same effort and the same fertilizer cost, you'd lose money. And so I want you to think about it. The average lifespan for an American today is 75.5. The average lifespan for an MD or a doctor is 58. If you want to gain 20 years statistically, just don't go to medical school. If you want to live to be 120 to 140, there's only two basic things. It's real simple, two things to remember. Number one, you have to avoid the pitfalls. You have to not step on the landmines, I call it. And those of you in the military, you know what that means.
I'm back. Hi, everybody. Yeah, as Chad mentioned, this guy advertises himself as a Nobel Prize nominee. And yeah, as Avi said in chat, anybody can nominate themselves for the Nobel Prize. I remember when I learned about that, I got so excited. I was like, that's so cool. Anybody can do that. Anybody can be a little grifter shit. That's so cool. Y'all, I highly recommend anyone who wants to just nominate yourself. Just nominate yourself for an award. I think everybody should do that. I think everybody should nominate themselves for the Nobel Peace Prize as a joke. All right, folks, back to work. Back to interactive entertainment. Let's start off with the Aliens. I said let's start off with the Aliens preview, y'all. I said, there we go. Aliens.
In 1979, the movie Alien burst onto the silver screen. Not only did it become a critical success, but it spawned the first horror film creature to become a pop culture icon since the golden age of monster movies. That killing machine has never been more popular. And now, you'll get to live out the horror firsthand with Aliens, a new game from Mindscape. We got a hold of manager Manny Granillo for some insider details about the upcoming Monster Mash. The situation at the start of Aliens should be familiar to fans of the movies. You are in control of a group of 4 terraformers returning from a job. On your way back to Earth, your stasis is interrupted by a distress call. A human colony is being attacked by a swarm of aliens. Casualties are extreme.
Cool
Casting
bodies.
better judgment aside, you touch down to investigate and evacuate any survivors, and then it's party time. Mindscape's game, being developed
I'm pretty
by
sure I
Triad,
played this
doesn't strive
before.
to be a 4th Alien movie for the PC. It takes much of its inspiration from the graphic novels by Dark Horse Comics. To give the game the right look, comic book style character art was layered over 3D models.
I'm vowing to finish this bad drink, by the way.
The Aliens universe from Dark Horse Comics. Created a unique storyline based on that universe. Created a full 3D world, all in SVGA. And in a very unique
Not
twist,
worth it. This drink's not worth it.
Contracted the artist who worked on the actual comic books and had him draw the characters so that we can place them inside a 3D world. And what we did, it was very unique, is that we took the character drawings and overlaid them on a 3D body mesh so that it'll give so when
Is this guy in a helicopter?
3D, the shadows and everything like that will look great. So we're giving some depth to the 2D characters by bringing them to life.
Aliens is a graphic adventure that will feature lots of exploration and a good deal of puzzle solving. To add a cinematic touch to the story, your perspective will change as the action unfolds. This will produce a more dramatic effect than the simpler camera angle switches in games like Alone in the Dark.
There's 3 different modes.
Yeah, this game's fun because you can be a huge jackass and die very easily.
Third-person view, where you see your character and then your environment in a very cinematic way. And then we cut to, when you do certain things, we cut to a first-person view so you can actually see yourself doing things. And then when we go into either a combat situation or one of the characters is about to get butchered, we go into a third-person isometric view, kind of like XCOM, but in SVGA. and in real time.
The entire game will be rendered in SVGA. The 8 artists working on the project have been pushing their herd of Pentiums to their absolute limits to produce some of the best 3D studio artwork and animation ever seen.
Just a whole herd of
The atmosphere is
Pentiums.
reminiscent of the first Alien movie, with lots of foreboding dark areas and sudden eruptions of violence. Aliens may not be for the weak of heart, but anyone up for a good scare will quickly find themselves fused to their monitor. One thing this game does, which is more
Audio
in line
fixed.
with the Dark Horse works than the movies, is fill you in on some of the history of this mysterious and terrifying life form. One of your crew comes in telepathic contact with an alien and makes a startling discovery.
They're part of a large race, and they're just like one branch of the race that is being hunted by an even more powerful alien from their own race, just a more powerful one. And they're almost to extinction, and that's why they need to procreate, and that's why they need host bodies, so that they can create more of their species. As far as their particular species is dying out, because they're being hunted, and they're the last of the remnants of this species.
Aliens are dying out. Reblog if you're a real alien head.
They sense dominant species approaching.
With Aliens, Mindscape is endeavoring to produce a game with a unique look and feel, but at the same time, they don't want to alienate current adventure gamers. What you'll see is a semi-traditional adventure game with a touch of real-time.
You have a screen, there's hotspots, click on them, you say go to, look at, that kind of stuff. Use item, look at item, that kind of thing, and that kind of inventory management. But if you delay too long, there is a timer that's kind of like a real time that, kind of eggs you on. Because if you delay too long, bad things start to happen to your ship. It allows you to explore, but we kind of keep the pressure on.
Alien looks like it's shaping up to be the type of game that science fiction and horror buffs dream of. A new approach to one of the silver screen's most popular monsters, with eye-popping, chest-burning animation to burn out your salivary glands. Think you're tough enough to handle the most destructive creature known to mankind? Dust off your pulse rifle and get ready for the ultimate xenophobic adventure coming to your part of the galaxy in September.
Cool. Sounds like it's going to kill me. Anyways, American Civil War.
For some reason, when compared with the number of games out for other American wars, the Civil War seems to largely get overlooked by the computer gaming market. Empire Interactive hopes to balance things a tad with The Civil War, 1861 to 1864. Calling itself the first PC-based full-scale depiction of this war, it blends a large Civil War database with a full-featured strategy game. The Civil War includes an encyclopedia of Civil War knowledge that you can access from the CD. Information is available on a variety of topics, including the battles that took place, the method in which the war was fought,
The
songs
Kentucky
from the period,
Times,
and important figures from the war. There is even a section with art and photographs. The centerpiece of the Civil War, however, is the full-featured strategy game. You command either the Union or the Confederacy in a full campaign or single battle scenario. The whole-scale campaign lets you take charge of the entire war effort on either side, while the single battle scenario allows you to select a campaign from the historical library to play. You are put in control of all the actual units involved in the battle and command your troops by giving orders at whatever level of command you want, so you can direct the battle from the smallest
Yeah, that
group of
thumbs up
infantrymen
looks
to the
very,
entire army.
ugh.
You can zoom in and out of
Chad,
the
have you seen
battlefield
that
and even turn it
robot
90 degrees at a
with
time
human-
so you can get the full view of the war
human
or get
muscles?
right down
It
with
looked
the
like
action.
that thumb.
Your troops are broken down in a tree of command, and you can issue orders from any branch of this tree. On the battlefield, you can see the commanders riding on a horse holding a flag representing where they fit in the chain of command. To issue a command to that commander's outfit, you simply click on the commander and tell him what you want him to do and where. All of the commands are given through a point-and-click interface. There are many features in this game that should give the player lots of room to customize.
I like the
Most
happy
of
face and the
fog of
frowny
war
face.
attributes, such as being able to see the enemy behind hills, you can adjust to a variety of different settings. And in battle, you can command your troops to attack, rush the enemy, retreat slowly, full-scale retreat, and so on. The strategy game also has all of the components from the actual war, such as trains and ironclad ships. Head-to-head modem
Anything
play
else
is
from the
also
actual
supported.
war,
A
or
comprehensive
is that
package
it?
like this has been a long time coming. The strategy game has enough features and is done well enough that it could probably stand alone. But with all of the historical information thrown in on top of it, this looks like it's going to be a fresh addition to a market drowning in mediocre strategy games. Whether you're a Civil War nut or if you just like strategy games, this is something you'll want to check out when it hits the shelves.
All right, Cannon Fodder 2.
The original Cannon Fodder was incredibly fun and unique. Cannon Fodder 2 is essentially the same game with new levels. Even the names of the soldiers seem to be the same, but no complaints here. Cannon Fodder 2 gives the player new missions and terrain to experience, with missions on spaceships and other planets. The first Cannon Fodder was a guns and glory game that was about blowing little G.I. Joe guys to bits. The sequel retains the same flavor of gameplay while adding scenarios involving space aliens and medieval knights. Killing is the main gist of this game. Your squad runs around a small map shooting, lobbing grenades, and firing rockets at the enemy. However, there are many little twists to this Ikari Warrior lookalike on steroids.
I don't think this is like Ikari Warriors.
Can vary from 1 to 4, 4 being the norm. If you'd rather not risk your entire force, you can take control of an individual soldier and become your own little Rambo. Combat takes place in real-time gameplay, so it requires a small amount of dexterity, though it's nowhere near as challenging as, say, the D-word. Speaking of soldiers, you start out with a set number to draw from and receive more as you complete each mission. Each soldier has his own unique name, but there is no difference in skill or appearance. If your soldiers live through one mission, they go on to the next mission.
Doom, I guess,
then they
yeah.
also go up in rank, and their kills are kept track of. Unfortunately, this leads to some teary goodbyes when a grenade lands too close to your force. Cannon Fodder 2 is a killer game. It's extremely simple, has good sound effects, is totally addictive, and some might even say it's cute.
All right, but what are the pros and cons of Cannon Fodder 2?
The sound and music are both good, the control and
it's a new pros and cons screen.
And the names of the soldiers are just plain cool.
And the cons?
Some changes to the engine would have been nice, namely Super VGA graphics, and the levels could be a bit more interesting.
Yeah, the D's for Devil Dumper Doris. Anyways, we should also try Cannon Fodder, Warcraft, and Lemmings. All right, Celtic Tales.
Celtic Tales, Valor of the Evil Eye is a sword and sorcery game featuring those cuddly warriors and bards you know and love. It also has its share of terrible tyrants. This one is a fella named Valor who has taken over everything in sight without even asking anyone first. Of course, there are other rulers on the island, but they all want to overthrow Valor on their own and be king themselves. It's
Fuck
good
Balor.
to be king.
All
So
my
you have
all my
to get
friends
the
hate
other
Balor.
rulers to unite under your leadership and follow you against Valor. You begin your quest by choosing a character you want to be. Depending on which character you choose, you have a set of attributes, like strength and charm,
Okay,
a province to
does this
control,
look
and
like
handful of
a-
heroes to do your bidding.
Does this
Said
look like
bidding will
a
include
Japanese
herding
PC
cattle,
game to
farming,
anybody?
mining,
It's
building
like
structures, and so on.
with that
Each of your
dithering and
heroes
stuff.
also has a set of attributes which increase as the game goes along. You can train your heroes to get stronger by playing a game called hurling or by sparring against other heroes traveling through your province. Gameplay is carried out in monthly turns, during which your hero carries out certain tasks. Mining, herding cattle, and farming accumulate resources, and other tasks like exploring and building don't. Only one assignment can be given to a hero per month, and performing these chores costs the hero energy. So every now and then you have to assign your heroes to do nothing but sleep.
It's a Koei game
The
designed by
screen is
Americans.
reminiscent of
Okay.
Populous or SimCity 2000. You work
How
in a
interesting.
scrolling isometric view of your province. Panning over characters, trees, water, and so on gives you basic information about them. Clicking on buildings lets you enter them and control whatever function it performs. As you go along, you'll be wanting to increase your land and power, so by having your heroes explore, you can locate and move into
I didn't make the
any
horse
empty
noise.
provinces. However, if Warrior Bob and his clan are already in the province, you can set up trade relations or take the province by force. When you decide to set up trade relations with a neighboring tribe, you have to allocate one of your heroes to take a caravan to that province and trade whatever commodity you send with them. When your hero arrives, you haggle for the best price you can get and then accept or reject the deal. But successful trading makes for good relations. However, sending a hero to trade will take up multiple months of their time. Of course,
Hey,
some tribes
any
won't want to have
Celtics
anything
want to
do with
trade
the
some
likes of
clear
you, and
protein
soon
for
Warrior Bob will be calling for your
anything?
head. To
Please,
protect your
God.
holdings and keep your head on your neck, you'll have to recruit other heroes to work for you. But this isn't easy at first, since a good hero never joins up with a second-rate outfit. You'll have to prove yourself before anyone will want to join up. When it's time to go head-to-head with other tribes, you enter a turn-based combat mode in which the characters take turns moving, casting spells, and fighting. When characters actually fight each other, the computer resolves how much damage would be done to each hero, and then you watch the fight through strength bars at the bottom of the screen while the heroes swat at each other. You can talk to your opponent if you
Yeah, they got a
choose,
lot to say
either
about this.
negotiating with him, or you can just taunt him and
About
make him mad.
as easily as a mother
Heroes can
slaps her
create
son.
special items
Okay,
during the
that's
month
normal.
Instead of doing chores,
I
if you
guess.
commission them
I
to
guess
do
that's
so.
just what Celtic times
Each
are
hero
like.
can make certain items which can be placed in the treasury and given to other heroes. These treasures have the effect of giving that hero special powers or abilities. If the hero has a staff, they can herd cattle better, and if the hero has wristbands, their charm attribute is increased. Heroes have the ability to cast a variety of spells, which is done through the use of rune stones. When the stones are put in the correct order, they allow the spellcaster to do any number of neat tricks, like increasing cattle production or throwing lava at the enemy. New spells are learned, well, bought actually, from other spellcasters who are passing through your land. Spells used to tend the land count as a task for the month. Those used in battle cost the hero a number of mana points. Incorporating different aspects of role-playing, strategy, and adventure gaming, Celtic Tales definitely has influences from games like Populous and SimCity 2000. Aspects of trading, building, fighting, training, casting spells.
I love that.
fighting wars,
That's me.
And developing your land are all here for you
Actually,
to
that's
control.
not me. But it could be me. Civilization Network.
Sid Meier's Civilization has quickly become recognized as a computer gaming classic, and it's just as popular now as it was 3.5 years ago. Since the beginning, every Civ junkie out there has wished for one thing: a multiplayer version. That wish will come true this summer when Microprose releases CivNet. We recently had a chance to speak with the Civ guru himself, Sid Meier, about what we will see and what we won't. CivNet will be a Windows game running in WinG for the best performance. Naturally, the graphics will be in high res and the interface will be changed to take advantage of the Windows environment. Timed games will be added for lunch hour Civ contests. There will also be
I
a
wanna do
full-term
lunch hour
editor,
Civ.
as well as an editor to let you customize the look of your king. What you won't find in CivNet is a new game. The design team has gone to great pains to preserve the play mechanics of the original game. All the new features and toys will be geared toward making the multiplayer aspect more manageable and fun.
The ability to have more communication between the players. I mean, it's more, now that we have humans playing all the other
Hey,
stuff,
Sid. How you doing?
there are a lot more things you might want to say to them, make treaties, negotiate, kind of make plans and things like that. So we've enhanced that part of the game. There's the ability to kind of put your own face on your leader now that other people will be seeing your king. So we put some things in like that. So most of the changes that we've made are specifically because this is now a multiplayer game.
One area of Civ that will get a modest tweaking
Hey,
is
I'm
the
Sid. I'm
display.
going to talk real
This
quiet.
wasn't the
It's
most
cool.
user-friendly design in the earlier versions of Civilization, but slight changes in CivNet should make it a little easier to deal with. Most notably, the display
Library
showing the
chat.
production on
We
the
should all
city's
we should all
surrounding squares has been made more
resurrect
prominent,
CivNet and build
the
cities that are
happiness of
just
your citizens
libraries.
is now easier to read. With up to 7 humans playing at once, CivNet will test your people skills as well as your tactics. Diplomacy will take on a whole new role, with players forming alliances with each other, and more importantly, breaking them.
What's different and unique about this version is going to be the ability to play with other humans and see how your strategy works against other people's strategies, and how you are not only as a general or an economist or whatever, but how well you are in dealing with other people and making treaties and getting other people to go along with your plans and things like that. So it adds a new dimension, which is the human-to-human dimension, which is what we're accentuating with Network Civ.
The biggest problem facing the team was how to alter the turn system to fit a multiplayer game. Waiting for 6 other people to take their turns is obnoxious, and true real-time play would turn the game into something totally new. Finally, a compromise was found: simultaneous movement.
We did not want to take a turn, and then you wait a while before other people took their turns, and then it was your turn again. So in that situation, you'd be waiting the majority of the time. So we altered the turn sequence so that everybody could be taking their turn simultaneously. And what that means is that when you're moving a piece, for example, in the original Civ, you could be guaranteed that the piece that you were about to attack, would still be there a minute later in your turn. But in this new game, that person who's running that other civilization might decide to move that unit or whatever. So the timing of your moves and what you do first and what you do later in your turn becomes more important because everybody's taking their turn together.
With up to 6 human opponents all scheming and plotting your death, you'll need to keep an eye out. To help, you'll be allowed to have up to 8 map windows open at once.
Whereas in the original Civ, you were looking at one area of the map. In multiplayer Civ, you can create multiple windows to look at various areas, specifically because you may be working in one area of the map, but someone else who's playing the game might be doing things in another area, and since it can all be going on at the same time, you you might want to keep an eye on what somebody else is doing while you make your moves in a different area. So you are able to bring up different windows to look at the areas of the map that you want to look at. One probably where you're actually doing your things, and other windows where
Please free me from the tunnel. I'm Sid
CivNet
Meier's.
should be a dream come true to all us die-hard Civilization fans. It has just about every conceivable option for fine-tuning the multiplayer games to everyone's taste. You can even play open games, where the extra players can join in and take over an empire from the computer AI. With
Ooh.
all this going for it, CivNet is sure to be one of
These
the
little
biggest
guys
hits
look
of
like
the summer.
Elvises. I would like Civ. Okay, chat. I know I'm just kind of spitting here. Imagine Civ, but you play as Elvis. Anyways, here's Siberia.
Welcome to Siberia.
Oh, God.
Interplay had a great idea. when
Okay,
they came
I'm
up
awake.
With Siberia. The only trouble is
We're
that
awake
they
in
didn't
Siberia.
seem to know in quite what direction to go with it.
The story goes like this. In the future, the criminal cartels are competing with the rest of the free world for control of the planet.
Mhm.
Something's been discovered in the frozen wastes of northern Russia that could be the end of us all.
So Zack, our hero, is sent to get his hands on it. That's the idea. Not the most original ever,
but good enough for a game. But for Siberia, someone at Interplay forgot that this was a game. You know, a game to play and not just watch.
Siberia looks and sounds good. I mean, it looks and sounds very good. The synthetic actors you interact with are blocky, but they look better than those in, say, Hell.
That was amazing. Kiss me.
And the animations used during the flight sequences are spectacular, but, well, we'll get to that in a minute.
You control Zack after he is released from prison by Devlin, the leader of the free world. I love the way the actors
Thank you for
speak.
freeing me.
Trust is a wonderful thing. I got you out of solitary, didn't I? Can't have you jetting around the globe instead of getting the job done, my man.
Seems our hero
My
did
man.
some kind of illegal computer something or other. Regardless, you control Zack as he goes from one place to another, first trying to get to Siberia, and then finding out what the Siberia project is.
You point Zack in the direction you want him to go and then tell him to walk there. There are only certain pathways that Zack can follow, so it can be a bit frustrating when you want
We
to
gotta
walk
control
in one
Zack.
direction, but the computer won't let you. But you basically go from one place to the next, overcoming obstacles and solving puzzles. Throughout Zack's wandering are arcade sequences tied into the storyline. The main game is flying toward northern Russia in some new bad boy jet fighter. The flight scenes were rendered on an SGI, and mercy, they are fantastic looking.
And while you're flying, you keep getting attacked by the bad guys. The object is to target them using the mouse cursor, and then shoot them down before they shoot at you. But you don't fly the ship. The ship flies around on its own, and you just point and click at the bad guys.
So basically the main arcade sequence is pointing and clicking the mouse. But the graphics are so good you almost don't mind.
Almost.
The video is exactly the same every time you fly the sequence, and the bad guys come at you from the same places at the same time everywhere. And even if you can see the bad guys and can shoot at them, they won't be destroyed unless the computer targets them. What's up with that?
After a
What's
while,
up with
you
that?
just memorize where the attack is coming from, destroying any semblance of the replayability you expect from an arcade game. It's almost like Interplay spent so much time and effort trying to make the game look good that throwing the gameplay part in was an afterthought.
If Interplay had gone one way or the other, this game could have turned out great. They should have gone with either the arcade game or the 3D branching adventure game. But by putting them together, each part suffered a little.
I
I love this guy's
adventure more
outfit.
than the arcade sequences, since I normally only saw each sequence once. When you're flying around and it's the exact same game over and over, no matter how good it looks, it gets a little boring after a while. Kind of like your last girlfriend, as I remember.
All in all, Siberia's not a bad game. You won't be sitting there thinking to yourself what a bad game it is, because it's not.
It's just that the people who love arcade action will be wishing for more freedom, and the folks who love the adventure type stuff hate that they have to suffer through the repetitive arcade segments to get through the story.
Okay, let's see the pros and cons of Siberia.
Siberia looks absolutely incredible, with the use of 3D rendered characters, vehicles, and environments throughout.
And the cons?
Siberia's biggest flaw is its limited playability. The action sequences are nailed to the rail and do not change from game to game.
I also hate being nailed to the rail, but we should also try Wing Commander 3, a Rebel Assault, and of course, a Nova Storm. Yeah, they changed the pros and cons for this one, and I really like what they did with it. All right, next we're going to skip the hints and tips. We're going to go to Discworld.
While Terry Pratchett is yet to receive the kind of fame that surrounds Douglas Adams, the author of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is doing quite well, thank you, with his series of Discworld
All right, to celebrate
novels.
Discworld, I'm going to finish off this
The
protein
series,
drink
Soul
that's
Music,
bad.
has just been released.
Here
And
we go.
Psygnosis has taken this opportunity to release their hilarious CD-ROM adventure entitled, Discworld.
Fans of the books will probably want to know where this game takes
Terrible.
place in the Discworld
Bad drink.
chronology.
Horrible.
Well, fans who get too obsessive
Awful.
about this sort of thing really get on
Don't
my nerves,
drink.
so I'm perfectly
Don't
happy
drink.
to tell them that it doesn't fit into the chronology at all. It's just a game that takes
Ugh.
characters and situations from the
Ugh.
novels and creates an entirely new thingy.
In the words of Alan Moore, this is an imaginary story, aren't they all?
So anyway, the player is an incompetent wizard named Rincewind.
Isn't he supposed to be dead?
Remember, the
This
books don't
drink
count.
is called
Rincewind
Rise
is most definitely not dead yet
RYSE
here,
Clear
and he is given
Protein
the task of removing
Kool-Aid
a troublesome dragon
flavored.
from the city of Ankh-Morpork.
Now, you and I both know that dragons don't exist, at least not unless
Yes, they do.
people
I'm right
believe
here,
in them.
man.
Exactly.
Come
There's
on.
a secret society of misfits who are deliberately and maliciously believing in dragons to cause trouble. And thanks to typical university bureaucracy, the whole mess has fallen on Rincewind's shoulders.
Good. Enough summary. This is a very funny game, and we should talk about that.
Okay, this is definitely going to appeal to fans of British comedy, and not just in the writing style. The voices are supplied by a very experienced and talented cast, including John Pertwee, Tony Robinson, Kate Robbins, and Rob Brydon.
And Eric Idle.
Oh yeah, Eric Idle's in it too.
It's amazing how well Pratchett's humor translates to the computer screen. While I never pictured the Discworld in this cartoony style, I have to admit it does work.
The programmers even found a way to accommodate his tendency to write long and funny footnotes into his novels. There are actually footnotes in the game itself, all delivered by this fellow, who looks like a tourist and talks like a golf commentator.
L-space is the distortion of space caused by big collections of books. Just picture some of those old second-hand bookshops, which look like they were designed by Isha on a bad day. They invariably have more staircases than stories, and rows of shelves that end in little doors, which are surely too small for humans to enter. This distortion of space has a similar inevitable effect on time.
The city of Ankh-Morpork is the largest on the Discworld, and the home of Unseen University, your employer. To find all the thingamajigs you'll need to bring the dragon to its scaly knees, you'll have to navigate this map screen.
As a testament to what a hopeless loser Rincewind is, he never takes the direct route to a location. Instead, he wanders all over the place in a style that reminds one of Billy and the Family Circus.
I don't believe you just made a family circus reference. That's on our official IE list of painfully uncool things to remind people of.
Hey, I haven't referred to Barry Manilow yet. Apparently, Wizards
Hey,
robes
I'm a
haven't
Barry
got much
Manilow.
pocket room,
Barry Manilow's
since
okay.
Rincewind can only carry 2 or 3 items
It's the
at a time.
90s. You
But
can
he's
mock
always
Barry
got his
Manilow.
trusty luggage with him.
The chest is in fact the luggage. The luggage is made of sapient pearwood, and once it attaches itself to somebody, it will follow that person everywhere. Just like a little puppy. It is like a runaway suitcase, albeit one with lots of little pink legs. In this game, the luggage is a convenient storage device. Not to mention a convenient homicidal maniac, should one be required.
Okay, so what's wrong with this game?
Shoddy editing. Every now and then, a character line is repeated when it shouldn't be. And sometimes there isn't even a sound file. The line just appears over the character's head, even when the subtitles are off.
Well, that's certainly annoying, but it's nothing that can't be fixed fairly easily with a patch. Right, Psygnosis?
Overall, Discworld is a laugh riot. The music
Patch it,
is a tad repetitive.
Psygnosis.
The playtesters must have been stoned to let some of the glaring
They must have
mistakes
been
get through.
stoned.
Of course, we've never done anything like that.
But basically, Terry
The
Pratchett
famous
should be proud
stoners of
and
England.
looking forward to the
I know
extra
they
money
must
he'll get when his
exist.
book sales skyrocket.
But let's see the pros and the cons.
If you don't laugh long and hard at this game, you are humor impaired. It's easily the funniest product since last year's Superhero League of Hoboken. The design even takes in Pratchett's habit of using lengthy footnotes in his writing.
And the cons?
Whoever playtested this product needs to be wakened from his 100-year slumber. There are quite a few glaring errors in the dialogue flow, repeated lines, missing sound files, things like that. It also is a drag having to reopen your luggage every time you want to use an item, instead of just leaving it open.
And we should also try Superhero League of Hoboken, the Space Quest series, and Leisure Suit Larry. That's not a bad idea. All right, next up we got Dungeon Master 2. Is this a review, preview? It doesn't say. So let's see.
It's tough to make a good first impression with a new product that looks like an old one, but Interplay is gonna give it a whirl. Dungeon Master 2 is the sequel to FTL Software's revolutionary RPG, and while it may not look or sound like a sci-fi movie, it's loads of fun anyway. Dungeon Master was the game that put first-person computer role-playing on the map. It was the first first-person game with object manipulation puzzles, and Dungeon Master 2 will feature many of these as well. Combat
You've got
isn't the
Bim Bim
only
Bop,
technique
that's
you'll
so
need to master
cool.
to win. The party's objective is to stop
I'm jealous.
the big bad guy who's supposed to step
I
through a
unfortunately
dimensional
just have the
portal in
clear
near future
protein
and
20-way
completely flatten your
isolate
town.
drink.
According to designer Bill Church,
Sorry,
the
folks.
game's storyline and objectives will be clear in the manual, and that the player won't be left in the dark as to what they have to accomplish. You can control up to 4 characters in Dungeon Master 2. Finding allies is pretty easy, and your party can be split and rejoined with only a couple clicks of the mouse. Many NPCs are already equipped with weapons and armor when you find them. A key strategy in the game is knowing which characters to have in your party at certain times. No dungeon wandering game would be complete
I've heard
without a
Superhero League of
handful
Hoboken
buttons
is
to
good.
kill.
It's something I've been
Dungeon
meaning to
Master
play.
2 throws a lot more monsters at you than the first game did, and makes them smarter too. Monsters will now attack in packs, follow you around corners, and team up for ambushes. Look out! Incorporating magic into a real-time game can be difficult. We have yet to see a magic system that lets you cast a spell as quickly as you can think about it. The design team says that spells will be able to be prepared in advance for casting in combat. Players who prefer magic users should be good at thinking ahead. Interplay has put even more emphasis on puzzles and problem solving in Dungeon Master 2. You can expect a lot of locked doors, obscure switches, hidden traps, and dead ends. The real-time environment will require you to think and act very quickly to avoid instantaneous death. It's pretty safe to say that Dungeon Master
Het.
2 will be an exceptional
Sorry, I was just looking at
exploration
Het
game
here.
and a worthy sequel. So run out now and get the first Dungeon Master. By the time you're done, Dungeon Master 2 might be on the shelves.
Okay. We're going to I didn't mean to say that. We're going to skip the hints and tips, and we're going to go to Blue Byte.
Blue Byte had an interesting mix of new titles on display at ECTS. The most serious game of the lot was Albion, a role-playing game. According to Blue Byte, the development team plans to make Albion so extensive you won't find yourself running into a group of monsters or an obscure puzzle every 3 steps. Toward that end, expect Albion to include many different quests full of unexpected twists, bonus quests as a reward for exploration, and strange civilizations. The basic game display engine will be 2D. You'll move through cities and other areas of the game done in 3D texture mapping, and the fighting screen will also be done in 3D. Dr. Drago's Madcap Chase is slightly
What?
lighter fare. Up to 5 can participate in this Windows game, which puts the players in a rally
Did this
which
come
visits
out?
over 100 European cities. Like life, the object of the Madcap Chase is to arrive first and make more money than everyone else. Your progress is hindered by your opponents, by various obstacles within the game, and by Dr. Drago, who will spend all your hard-earned money if you allow him to catch you. Chewie, Escape from F5, looks like a game that should appeal to the younger members of your family, as this CD-ROM graphic
Chewie?
adventure has a cartoon look and feel to it. Our hero, Chewie, looking for a missing friend, is captured by aliens and taken to the planetoid F5
What
to
is
help Chewie
this?
escape and resume the search for his buddy.
What the fuck is the Chewy? Chewy, huh? All right, what's Grand Slam up to?
Grand Slam had a plate full of titles at
Chewy.
ECTS, including a couple of sports games with a distinctly English twist. Nick Faldo's Championship Golf is a CD-ROM
Chewy.
release featuring one of Britain's most successful golfers on the modern international scene. In addition to 2
Chewy?
different courses and all of the usual elements of a computer
Chewy.
golf game, Championship Golf will have a training section based on Faldo's own video. If, like most
okay, don't
Americans,
worry
you are
about it.
thoroughly confused by the rudiments of cricket, ITS Cricket might offer some relief. The scariest part of this game, to an avid U.S. sports fan, is that the game promises a 5-day test match played in real time.
No.
One assumes that it won't take 5 days to play a game, but you never really know. ITS Cricket will include 9 countries with 8 players per team, individual player profiles and stats,
Chewy came
digitized
out apparently,
animation,
okay.
music and sound effects, and a 1 or 2 player option. If you're able to get a hold of this game and find yourself hooked on cricket, Grand Slam is planning future add-ons. Jetstrike asks the game player a simple question. Are you up to the challenge of saving the world from the evil forces of Spud? It's actually
No.
difficult to imagine being threatened by something named Spud, but Jetstrike looks as though it has everything that an arcade action fan could want. That includes 60 weapon systems, including a nuclear bomb, over 60 types of aircraft to fly, Nearly 200 missions, all done in 24-bit graphics. Jet Strike will also support multiplayer modes for up to 8 gamers. Grand Slam's The Seventh Sword of Mendor is an RPG that should take more than a
The Seventh
weekend
Sword
to
of
complete.
Mendor is an
The
RPG?
game's world, which includes cities, wastelands, oceans, and dungeons, has over 270 miles of tunnels and roads to wander around in. Mendor will also come with a detailed character management system, 2 magic systems with hundreds of spells, and artificially intelligent non-player characters who can join your party. The game will feature Super VGA graphics with digitized artwork.
All right, that's what Grand Slam's got going. Chrysalis, what are you showing off?
Soccer games dominate the sports market in England, and Chrysalis Software has the license featuring one of the country's best-known sides. Manchester United, The Double, is an update of an older title from the company that now includes 3D isometric gameplay, a player name editor, and trades. The game, which will be released on both floppy and CD-ROM for the PC, allows from 1 to 4 players who can choose virtually any pro team in the UK. In addition to a wide variety of kicks and shots and adjustable stats for each player, The Double allows an advanced form of tactical control that lets you give individual player instructions. Legends
Mendor
is an
never
adventure
came
game
out.
with
Okay.
an interesting storyline. It turns out that Earth and all its inhabitants were created for the amusement of an alien race. The aliens have decided that we've become boring and opt to liven us by teleporting various weapons and machines into 4 different areas in Earth's history. The first 4 quests of Legend are undertaken by a main character who gains a power or skill upon successful completion of a quest. Those 4 skills will be needed to
running a
complete
little low
the
on
5th
product.
quest,
We sure
which
are.
results in Earth being saved. Starfighter 3000 is another game that has some fun with its storyline. It seems that in the year 3037, countries don't wage war, television stations do. In
That'd
other
be
words,
sick.
ratings are taken far more seriously even than they are today. Don't make the mistake of letting the premise get in the way of what you're doing with this game. It's an arcade shooter, pure and simple, as you work your way through over 100 missions, earning enough cash to upgrade your ship as you battle bad TV.
All right, let's. That actually sounds interesting. I love when TV goes crazy.
GameTech's European division
Oh my
is
God, we got
pushing
21 of
Frontier
these.
Close
Let's
Encounters, its sequel to Frontier Elite 2.
sink in
One of the
and let this
best-selling games
go.
of the year when it was released in the UK 2 years ago. The basic foundation of the game is the same. You're a spacecraft captain journeying around the galaxy visiting different worlds with a goal of being named an elite commander. New features include a chance to battle with the Thargoids, an alien race that appeared in Elite. New ships, improved combat, and a video bulletin board with video link images. Fairway to Heaven is a collection of 18 holes selected from courses around the world.
Fairway
On the
to Heaven
CD-ROM
is a good
version, video
name.
clips of each hole will be available, along with interviews of golfers such as Ben Crenshaw, Gary Player, and John Daly. Infogram, the parent organization of U.S. game company iMotion, had a number of games on display at ECTS, but only one new game title new to the American audience. A4 Networks looks as though it'll be a serious workout for fans of business simulations. The president of the A4 Corporation has disappeared under mysterious
Oh, this came out as
and you're one of the
CEO.
candidates to succeed him. As your audition, you
We've
get a
played
chance
this on
to
stream
manage
before.
the
Yeah, this is
company, which has fallen
CEO.
upon hard times because of the demise of its leader. Your core business is a rail network, but you have full control of A4's resources, which means you can play the stock market, invest in other companies, buy and sell real estate, and even create a media empire. The PC version of the game will be released in Europe in May, with a CD version expected out in June. Icarian Software is distributed by Kingsoft in Europe, and the company had 4 English games on display at ECTS. Battle Race is an action racing game on CD-ROM set for release this summer. You're given a choice between a number of different space fighter ships and arenas in which to fly the ship. The game is rendered in real time, and a 4-player network mode will be available. Pinball Wizard 2000 is a pinball simulation with an interesting twist. In addition to the 5 tables that come with the game, this title also offers an editor that allows you to design your own tables.
Ooh.
Also coming out soon from Icarian, The Hidden Below, a 3D action game on CD-ROM that proves that Doom clones aren't limited to the US. Kingsoft is also distributing Project Paradise, an action-adventure CD-ROM release set in a dark future where the Earth is ruled by syndicates who use bands of mercenaries to enforce order. World Hockey 95, a new ice hockey game that should be on American shelves as you view this episode of IE, was on display at ECTS under its European moniker,
Pro
Alex
hockey,
Dampier World
yeah.
Hockey 95. While hockey ranks way down the list of favorite sports in the UK, it is slowly gaining in popularity. Dampier, the coach of England's national team, is the most recognizable hockey name in the country. The game will come with over 25 international teams. There'll be over 3,200 players, all with adjustable stats. Players can play single matches, start their own league, or set up a tournament with up to 8 different players. Dampier Hockey will be Merit's first release featuring the Merit Video System, a video compression system
Merit
which will
Video
allow your computer
System.
to run full-screen video compression from DOS without the need for any additional hardware such as an MPEG board. Also on display by Merit in London, Harvester.
Harvester! We got Harvester!
Being developed by Future Vision. The build being shown at ECTS did feature some rudimentary gameplay, and company officials in the US say the latest projected release date for the game is now sometime in June. Microprose had a large, attractive display at ECTS, but most of its products are very familiar to stateside gamers. One new item attached to an old game is the Transport Tycoon World Editor, which allows the player to create their own world from scratch. With the World Editor, which must be used in conjunction with Transport Tycoon, the player starts the game with a bare seascape with no land or other features. Then terrain, town, industries, farms, and bridges can be added to the pristine world in any location. Another updated release available on display by Microprose was Colonization Gold. This latest strategy game from Civilization creator Sid Meier's features enhanced graphics along with additional
Yeah, I want a World
multimedia
Editor
elements
IRL.
dealing with early American history. The gold version
Just
also
gonna build a
includes an
train that goes
enhanced
right by my
colonization
house.
encyclopedia, along with an interactive interview with Meyer. Empire Interactive was previewing Red Ghost, a new strategy title set for release this summer at ECTS. The game puts you in charge of an international special forces unit that has orders to attack and destroy a secret military unit known only as Red Ghost. You'll be in command of a number of vehicles, including tanks and helicopters, in this CD-ROM release from Maelstrom. The developers say a new graphic technique called ray scaling allows for extremely detailed landscapes. Novologic's one new game that was on display in London brings an extremely interesting twist to the notion of network play. According to the company, Werewolf vs. Comanche is literally 2 games
What
in
sucks
one
is
box,
it doesn't feature
and the
real
combination should
werewolves.
bring a wide smile to the face of any helicopter simulation fan. Comanche, previously released by Novologic, features the RAH-66 Comanche, one of America's top copters. Werewolf, a new game, is based on the Russian Ka-50 Werewolf. The design of this release will allow you to determine for yourself which helicopter is better. Werewolf vs. Comanche will allow for head-to-head play through a network or modem. The cooperative mode will allow a pair of werewolf pilots to team up against the Comanches or
Again, you
vice
can't
versa.
say pair of
If the
werewolf
dual game
pilots
possibilities are too
and
much
have
for
them
you
be
to deal with,
humans.
You can play either game by itself. The product is slated for worldwide release in May.
All right, what about Psygnosis? No, not Time. Well, whatever. Let's see what Time Warner has to
biggest
say.
arcade machine titles around the world in 1994, and Time Warner Interactive is betting it'll be just as popular when it ports the fighting game to a wide variety of computer and console formats later this year. The game's images will be digitized from lifelike latex puppets filmed in hundreds of different positions. The computer version will feature added special moves, spectacular deaths, and hidden bonus levels. Striker 95 is the latest installment in the Striker Soccer series from Time Warner Interactive. The game comes with over 5,000 players from over 300 national and international teams and includes video highlights from real soccer matches. Also new to the game, save options will allow the player to store key facts and figures for players and matches. The stats for teams and players can be edited, and in a demonstration of America's insidious influence on soccer, Striker 95 even includes an option for indoor 6 players per side matches. Atmosphere is a computer adaptation of the board game,
Atmosphere,
which was a huge hit in Europe, selling 2 million copies worldwide. The object of the game is to collect 6 keys, outwit the gatekeeper and your opponents, and reach the other side where you can bury your nightmare at last.
Cool.
The setting of the game, a graveyard, will be created in 3D Studio. You can choose game lengths of 30, 60, or 90 minutes. Up to 6 people can play, and the game, due to be released in September, will come with network or modem play.
All right, let's see if they'll let me do Psygnosis this time. There we go.
As far as stateside gamers are concerned, Psygnosis was displaying a number of new products at ECTS. Combat Air Patrol is a flight combat simulator based around Operation Desert Storm. You're a fighter pilot in
Desert
the cockpit
Storm
of an F-14 Tomcat
mentioned.
or FA-18 Hornet, working with flight routes and targets taken from original Gulf War records. In case you're wondering who Psygnosis is targeting with this game, we offer the following quote from their press release that came with Combat Air Patrol. Its mission, to tackle the Microprose bunch in their own airspace and kick some serious ass. The Commodore Amiga
this
still
game is to
survives
kick some
and
serious
thrives
ass.
among European gamers, and Damocles was a hit on that platform. Psygnosis is hoping that the adventure game will be just as appealing on PC CD-ROM. Damocles is a comet that's a mere 3 hours from the planet Eris. Since that's where you live, you're extremely interested in turning it aside. You'll fly among the 9 planets and 19 moons of the Gamma system in your search for the solution.
That's too many
Darker
moons.
is another
Oh,
game
hello,
being billed as a
Darker.
flight sim by Psygnosis, but this product has an adventure storyline. You're a member of the Delphi Defense Force. Your race has always lived on the dark side of your planet in peace. That is, until the Halons polluted their light side of the planet so badly that they're trying to take over your turf. If you're not a big fan of storylines in your flight combat
I
games,
hate
Darker will offer you a
storylines.
ready opportunity to simply fly around and blow things up. The game will come with a 2-player option, and the CD version will support the VFX1 VR headset. International courts of law have ruled that there must always be at least one Lemmings project underway at Psygnosis.
True,
so it was
true.
no surprise to see 2 new projects involving the cute creatures at ECTS. Lemmings 3D will feature new puzzles in a 3D environment. The game is being developed for IBM PC and CD-ROM along with the Sony PlayStation. Then there's Lemmings for Windows. You knew it had to happen sooner or later, didn't you? This title will include the puzzles from the original Lemmings and, oh no, more Lemmings. Pyrotechnica is your basic first-person action game with a cyberpunk attitude.
Never heard of
It's
this one.
2112, and research has shown that there are information capsules buried deep in the hearts of ancient stars. The only problem with this is that alien cyborgs have been programmed to defend this knowledge, which makes data retrieval a high-risk business. You're a netrunner who flies to the stars to take on these vicious aliens. Think Descent, and you're probably not too far off as to this game's style. Pyrotechnica features a 3D gaming environment and an alternate 2-player mode. Adventure
yeah,
gamers
Lemmings
who
3D
attend
wasn't
Opera
so
when they're not
good.
in front of their computer may have found the perfect mix in The Ring Cycle. This adventure game draws from Wagner's classic opera for its soundtrack. As a matter of fact, the designers of the game say it will match up the soundtrack with the events happening on screen. The game itself draws from the same Teutonic influences as Wagner and features a texture-mapped and ray-traced 3D landscape, a combat system that allows the player to customize special moves, and over 30 individual non-player characters, each with their own artificial intelligence. As the name might indicate, She-Queen Death Machine isn't a gentle adventure title. This is an old-fashioned, side-scrolling arcade shooter that takes advantage of the PC to provide a little extra in terms of game graphics. The game will come with multi-directional fire, loads of weapons, dozens of areas to explore, 10 regular levels and extra secret levels, nasty level bosses, and rendered sequences at the end of each
These
level
guys look
that
like
give you a look
elves
at
to
the new
me,
enemies
like
you'll be
cyber
facing.
elves.
Tir na Nog was first released in Britain in the mid-'80s and went on to become one of the best-selling RPGs of its time. Now, 10 years after the fact, Psygnosis is reviving it for a new generation of gamers. The game draws heavily from Celtic mythology and will feature a large number of puzzles and spells. The game features a massive playing area
I like
and
that
has something
guy.
that should certainly appeal to novice RPG players, an instant save game function.
All right, Psygnosis got a lot going on. Virgin, what are you up to?
Virgin Interactive is one of the biggest game companies in the UK, and the company had 3 of its in-house titles on display at ECTS. However, the game drawing the most attention at the Virgin booth was an interactive adventure called Heart of Darkness.
Hey, we
by
talked about
Amazing
how we
Studios,
played Heart of
The
Darkness.
storyline revolves around a boy who sees his dog disappear under the cover of darkness. This may sound simple, but with a production budget of £1 million, about 1.6 million US dollars, the boy and his dog should look and sound pretty damn good. Virgin's own new titles included Supercarts, currently available in England. This game is being compared by many to the king of cartridge racing games, Super Mario Kart. Some may see that statement as heresy, but this CD-ROM release
Heresy.
comes closer to capturing the spirit of the old SNES classic than any other racing game I've seen for the PC.
I like the
Developed by
bisexual oil
Maniac
meter.
Media, Supercarts includes 8 opponents, 16 different tracks, 4 difficulty settings, 1 or 2 player play on 1 computer, and network support for up to 8 players. The game is compatible with all joysticks and joypads, including the Thrustmaster T1 steering wheel and pedals. Sensible Golf, which Virgin plans to release for the PC in
Sensible
September,
Golf, huh?
is being marketed by Virgin as a golf simulation with a bit of an attitude. The game will allow for what's being
bit of a
billed as
tood.
casual banter between players, and will also come with a song and video, Do You Want to Play Golf? Up to 4
I like
people can
that.
participate in 3 different types of play: stroke, match, and skins. According to the press kit on the game, up to 72 people will be able to compete in a tournament. Sensible Golf will also feature more than 20 different courses. Virgin is also taking aim at the pinball simulation market with Tilt, scheduled for release on CD-ROM in October. The game will feature a dozen different tables, and they should all look sensational since all of the tables are being modeled and rendered on silicon graphics machines.
Okay, Virgin's got a lot going on, but what about Golf 32X?
We're off the links, and teeing off today is
Golf
Sega
Magazine.
Sports creation. Golf Magazine presents 36 Great Holes starring
36 Great Holes.
Can you believe how
You
long
love to
that
hear
title
it.
is? For play on the 32X Sega upgrade, this title
What makes a
starts
great
to bridge
hole?
the gap between
What
PC
makes a
golf
great
sims
hole,
and
chat?
conventional cartridge-based simulations. Although the gap between the PC and the cartridge is still just about as wide as David Letterman's tooth gap in many genres, 36
remember
Holes
David
presents
Letterman's
an
tooth
impressive array of
gap?
features to keep that handicap low. 36 Holes digs itself an interesting niche in the golf game market. Instead of just offering a specific course's 18 holes, Fred Couples and the designers have selected 36 of the best holes from all over the world, allowing players to experience only the cream of the crop. Some of the tropic locations you'll visit during a full 18 will be Torrey Pines,
Torrey
Harbour Town,
Pines.
and Firestone. Although the course graphics are not as detailed as Link's 386 Pro on the PC, they do contain 32,000 colors on screen, making those patches of green grass even more luscious. Fred will tag along your journey from hole to hole as your personal caddy, tossing out hints and tips at times and analyzing your stroke. Some of his comments are extremely annoying and pointless, such as, "That was a little short." But other times the comments are actually useful. The game offers 7 different ways to play, and no, we're not going to list them all.
You
Suffice
should.
to
List
say
them
that you
all.
can play
List them all
just about
now.
Every type of golf imaginable, from practice to tournament to a skins game. Another very impressive feature is the battery backup, which actually lets you save your replay files to the cartridge, although there is a limit of 4 replays. Furthermore, for the ultimate party atmosphere, up to 8 players can hit the links at once. From a graphic and sound perspective, Freddy's Links is a very impressive title. Although the actual play mechanics are not up to par with Link's 386 Pro, they're certainly very impressive for a cartridge game. Although some gamers have been less than impressed with recent 32X releases, some of them show that Sega can create more than unadulterated arcade blast fests. Nevertheless, the links on 32X combine some great golf holes with a great golfer and whips them into a complete package that doesn't quite rival PC counterparts, but is by far the most impressive cartridge golf game title to date on a video game system.
Okay, let's check out the pros and cons.
The idea of combining 36 different holes is a great one, moving away from the concept of multiple course
Is it a great
add-on
idea to
packs
combine
when
all
you
those
really
holes?
want is to play that one special hole. Furthermore, the ability to save instant replays is very impressive for a cartridge title.
I'm sorry, I'm losing it at all the hole talk.
The graphics aren't as detailed as Link's on the PC, and some of the holes were much too easy to master. Couples commentary can become annoying after a short while, especially when he starts yapping the same sound sample over and over again. Although it is perhaps a fault of the Genesis controller, I found Link's on the PC to still be much easier to control with the mouse.
Combine those holes. Also try Link's 386 Pro, PGA Tour Golf 486, and Microsoft Golf 2.0. Done and done. Next up, Great Naval Battles 3.
Let me start things off by saying that Great Naval Battles Volume 3 is an SSI's Advanced Simulator series.
Which means that if you're a beginner in naval wargaming, you may want to put this game off for just a bit. Say, until you grow pointed
Yeah,
ears
holes
and
should
can
be
keep
like
eye-outs before
Othello.
you
A minute
fidget.
to learn, a lifetime to master.
Great Naval Battles 3 is a very good simulation, but you may be right. This game is more advanced than many war games. But for anyone who loves to really get into the game,
especially those who have an interest in World War II history,
those folks are going to find a lot to enjoy in GNB 3.
When you start the game, you choose which scenario you want to play, which includes deciding among playing an historical, random, or saved scenario, whether you'll control the US or Japanese, and your level of difficulty.
Dwight D. would have gotten his Eisenhower kicked on Expert. Be afraid.
Once you've demolished the 16 scenarios that come with the game, you can use the included editor to roll your own, but more on that later. At this point, it's time to declare war.
This is where things get a little tricky. There's a learning curve involved with this game. The interface is involved, but once you get used to how all of the functions interact, it's actually pretty easy to use. For a game of this complexity, everything is well organized, though you'll need to play 2 or 3 games before you really get to know where everything is. You command task forces of ships in actual World War II naval battles to carry out various missions. Victory does not always involve wiping out the opposing force, but sometimes demands merely holding your own.
SSI really did their homework in all of the World War II weaponry. Virtually all the ships and planes used on both sides are here in this game. Everything is historically accurate. World War II
Yeah,
history
this is
buffs
Storm
are
and
really
Norman
going
core to
love
me.
this game.
You command your task force from a series of action stations and an individual ship from its bridge. Each station has its own separate screen, and these are complicated.
Told ya.
15 pages of the manual are dedicated to explaining the flag bridge station alone. Still, complex though they are, the stations give you an elegant means of managing navigation, gunfire, torpedoes, and air ops.
And all of the stations can be accessed with single key punches on the keyboard to avoid lots of point and clicking. With all the details you have to juggle in this game, that's really nice to have.
The map screen comes with an option called filters that you can turn on and off. These filters show things like airplane range, torpedo range, ship names, and so on.
You should
And
be
like
able to
most
add,
things in this
add
game,
like
the map screen might
monsters
seem a little
like
awkward to
King
work
Kong
with
and
at first,
stuff.
But after working with it for a little bit, it'll be no problem.
Once you get the basics of how the game operates, GNB3 becomes a lot of fun. You control every aspect of battle. You control the route, formation of your task force, and coordinate attacks with your carrier and land-based aircraft to accomplish your missions.
You also have submarines to command in GNB3, although you aren't able to interact with them in first person like you do with your other units. You basically tell your subs where to patrol and let them go to work. I don't know why there wasn't any more interactions with subs in this game, though.
Maybe it was, like, for historical accuracy, you think? You can command your ships on a
The way
number
he
of
says
levels.
subs,
You
I'm
can set
sorry.
any or all of the more detailed procedures like targeting on automatic and just control the larger aspects of the game.
Or you can do it all, turret by turret if you want, on any or all of your ships. You can get as deep into this game as you want. You can even customize aspects of the scenario such as gun accuracy, amount of damage, and torpedo dud rates.
If that wasn't enough, the scenario editor included in GNB3 lets you set anything up wherever you want it and however you want it.
This is great for those what-if scenarios you always wondered about. Now you can set them up and see what happens.
You know, SSI really did a great job with this game. The basics are done really well, gameplay is very adjustable, and the historical accuracy is impressive. The soundtrack is great as well, even if the sound effects are just so-so sometimes.
Be warned, however, that this is a very intensive simulation on any level of play. This is for the real simulation addict, the control freak in your life.
The
This
real
involves
control
a lot
freak.
of game time to play it like it deserves. The designers really put a lot into it that the casual gamer just won't get to enjoy.
If you're the kind of person that loves to really get into the nuts and bolts of a good naval war game, however, this game was made just for you.
But let's check the pros and the cons.
This game is historically complete. History
Yeah, we're
lovers
not
will
freaks
be
at all. We're
GNB3
normal.
lovers. The depth of this simulation, no pun intended, will be a huge plus to hardcore wargamers.
And the cons.
It may be a bit overwhelming at times to someone who isn't well acquainted with this type of game. The lack of complete control over the subs is strange considering the level of control over all the other ships.
We should also try Carriers at War 2 and Pacific War. Okay. That makes sense. Next up, Heart of Darkness.
Before the literature
Hell
majors
yeah.
start their whining, I'd like to quickly say that Heart of Darkness, the upcoming adventure from Virgin Interactive and Amazing Studio, has nothing to do with Joseph Conrad, Nicholas Roeg, Martin Sheen, Francis Ford Coppola, John Malkovich, Marlon Brando, or anyone named Kurtz. On the other hand, it has everything to do with an engaging and disturbing storyline.
XC125,
not to mention
thank you for the
level of graphic
follow. Appreciate
sophistication that
it.
will knock the
Welcome.
socks off even the most jaded gamer. Meet Andy and his dog, Whiskey. They had been leading a fairly normal life of running, playing, fetching sticks, you know, kid and dog type stuff. Then one night, Whiskey disappears.
Yeah, this
leaving
game's
Andy
very
to face his
violent.
fears
We
in the
we
dark
we
alone.
streamed this
Fears that
and
might
oof.
be better founded than you would think. In order to get his beloved friend back, Andy will have to explore a new and frightening territory populated by bizarre creatures and ruled by a dark overlord.
is
Such a place really exists.
Yeah, that's
or
that
is being
child's
the victim of
life.
an overactive imagination.
It's very
Slowly
painful.
but surely, you will have to admit the former. The term interactive movie will ring in your head over and over as you look at this place, but no computer game has ever concocted a mix of influences like this. The character design, the landscape, the
Ugh.
breakneck pace, and the astoundingly fluid motion
It's got
are a funky
nipples.
fusion between Disney, the more bizarre Jim Henson creations,
Check.
and adventure films like Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That's nipple
One
to
of the
me.
most striking things
That's
about the
also
visual
nipple.
design is the contrast in styles. Most of the characters have an almost puppet-like appearance, and yet they exist in a very realistic environment. The characters also have the surreal gloss that can only come from 3D computer rendering. This contradiction holds true for friend and foe. While much of the gameplay takes place in the familiar side-scrolling style, a great deal of care has been taken to blend the play with the spectacular cinematics. Ideally, the player will be swept away in the storyline and not want to return to reality. Although this is the first product from Amazing Studio, the design team is not unknown to the industry. Studio head Eric Chahi was the creator of the innovative, award-winning Out of This World, and project leader Frederick Savoir was responsible for the legendary Flashback. Big-budget games are becoming more common, but Heart of Darkness's £1 million budget is still huge.
£1 million? Woof.
There is no doubt that the money has been put to good use.
Yeah,
From
Heart
this
of Darkness
layout,
has
you
an
can see that
amazing
the character
logo.
Andy uses a staggering 1,400 frames of animation, and that's just in one direction. Character design has also been much like that of a full-length animated film. That level of attention to detail also extends to the sets. Here is a series of production pictures from the initial sketches, to the initial rendering, to the final product, and finally, with Andy roaming among the bones. Multiply this amount of work by all the locations
among
involved,
the
and you'll soon
bones.
understand why this has been a 3-year project. Even the musical soundtrack
Look
goes
at
well
him.
beyond
That's I
current
Am
game
Mean to
standards.
Me.
The music was composed by Bruce Broughton, known for such films as Miracle on 34th Street and Tombstone. The Heart of Darkness score is actually performed by a full orchestra. Heart of Darkness promises to combine all of the visual magic that computers can muster.
Hey
with one
kids,
of the
I'm the
oldest
goo. Do you
storytelling
like
themes,
me?
innocence
I'm
and
Little
experience.
Freak Man.
This is not a game for children,
Look at my
but rather
nipples.
for adults who
Woo.
wish to recapture the magic of their childhood. Look for this startling product to hit the shelves this October.
I don't want to recapture my childhood. No. All right, next up, High Seas Trader.
High Seas Trader from Impressions is a game which takes place in the 1600s in which you are given a ship and a little bit of money. You must then set out to make as much money as possible.
Just to soothe the consciences of gamers who aren't unmitigated capitalists, there is actually a story. Your father, who was once wealthy himself, was wrongfully stripped of his wealth and title, and you are avenging his name by becoming rich again. You are now abdicated from any feelings of greed.
You begin by deciding which nationality you want to be, since politics play a role in this game. Whether or not a port of call is friendly depends on which countries are at war at that time, and the political landscape is always changing.
This was a nice touch to the game. Instead of just giving you free reign around the world, you actually have to take more into consideration than just prices at the ports.
Trading commodities is the focus of High Seas Trader, and it's made very simple since all of the information you need is kept automatically in journals and logs. You can access a log which tells you how much a commodity is selling for at any port that you have a map for.
Too often, people find themselves having to bring out the old pencil and paper and write down prices and locations, but High Seas Trader has taken care of that.
Oh, that's
Traveling
nice.
from one port to another is also made
I
very
like
easy.
trading games.
All you
I
have to
don't
do
like
is buy a
keeping an
map
eye
for a
on what
certain
I can
section of
trade.
the world, and you can sail to any port on that map. You also gain price information for these ports. But sailing there is simply a matter of placing a series of waypoints that your ship will follow, and you're off.
To further simplify things, you can sail the ship yourself, or be a real-life manager and have your first mate do it for you. If you decide to sail the ship yourself, however, it will take some time to get from place to place. The first mate function is basically a time compression feature which gets you there quickly. You do get interrupted if a storm or pirates come your way.
Speaking of pirates, there are plenty in High Seas Trader. They're always attacking you between ports, and I actually got attacked once while I was just outside a port. Pirates are not your
Sorry,
most
I'm
ethical
something on my
bad
desk
guys.
dropped.
That's
We're
okay,
good. We're good.
because you can show them no
It's
mercy
normal for
and
things
never
to drop
feel a
on your
twinge of
desk. It's
guilt.
fine.
All you
Don't
do
worry
is
about
line
it.
up the enemy ship in the middle of your screen and fire. I know that this was
There,
probably an
fixed.
accurate
Okay.
simulation of the use of cannon fire in the 1600s, but it gets kind of boring in the 1990s.
If you get close enough, you can board the enemy ship as well as be boarded. I was, however, very disappointed.
You can
with the
board
way
as well
boarding
as
was
be boarded.
executed.
Good night,
You watch
folks.
a picture of the two ships while animated sailors do battle and wait for the battle to be decided by the computer based on the number and morale of the sailor.
Sorry, my desk
It's
came with
quick
an
and easy,
LED
but it
light
totally
thing
puts
and
the
it just
player out
fell
of the
down,
action.
so I'm trying to
If
fix
this
it.
is all there is to fighting pirates, give them the friggin' ocean. Stopping them is too boring. The real action is in taking care of your ship and trading commodities. There are places you travel to in each port in order to perform tasks like hiring the people to man your ship. To hire soldiers, sailors, or apprentices, for example, you would go into the tavern. There, you click on the type of person you want to hire, however many you want, or however many are available.
All of the management functions of High
Okay, I
Seas
think it's
Trader
not
are
gonna
performed
drop
in the
again.
same way. If you want to repair or outfit your ship, you go to the docks. If you want to buy or sell, you go to the market, and so on. It's very simple and straightforward.
High Seas Trader itself is very simple and straightforward. There's not a lot of learning to do to play this game, which lends itself to playability. The only problem is that the game just doesn't have what it takes to be addictive. At best, it's entertaining, but after a while, it's like balancing your checkbook.
Now hold on. This game, while not great, isn't a bad one, and it might just be a great game for a younger player.
I like when
It
games
teaches
are like
some
balancing my
financial management
checkbook.
as well as planning for the future. For more experienced gamers, it may get boring, but for a younger player, the simplicity of gameplay might just be perfect.
It's games for babies. Okay.
High
Pros.
High Seas Trader is very easy to play, and the computer is very helpful by keeping up with all of the information you need to make your decisions.
And the cons.
This is not a very exciting game to play. High Seas Trader is never able to make that jump to becoming addictive. The combat with other ships was really underdone, but I don't guess that was a real concern in this game, although it would have been helpful.
And we should also try Pirates and Merchant Prince. I have been curious about Pirates, I'm not going to lie. All right, I have no mouth preview.
Forget your bright, shining, next-gen visions of a utopia around the corner. For Cyber Dreams, the future means fear. The California company is in the final stages of adapting Harlan Ellison's classic short story, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. And if Harlan has his way, the dark adventure that results will shake up a few complacent gamers. The story follows the lives of the last 5 humans left alive. They're trapped in the center of the Earth, where they have been tormented for the past 109 years by an insane computer named Am. Ellison insists that he is not hostile to technology.
The premise of the story is that there's nothing inherently bad about machines, any more than there's anything inherently bad about science of any kind. It is what people do with science that makes it dangerous. The aspects of I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, the story that I have brought to this, are transliteral. They are things that go from one to the other.
I'm transliteral.
It's a very visual story. I mean, when they come into the ice caverns and find the giant...
Oh, Lynx, you should have seen the interview with him where he was shit-talking gamers the entire time.
The subtle stuff, the surreal stuff, the magic realism twist that you would get in a novel of the Latin American boom, Garcia Marquez or Borges, or writers like that, that is lost. No, it's not. I think about it and I tell a lie. It is not lost. It is altered. It's transmogrified. It appears in a different way.
The player will take on the role of one of the 5 humans being tortured in the belly of Am. None of the characters may seem particularly appealing, but that's part of the fun. You have to choose between Gorister, the suicidal loner.
Oh, you were here for it. Good.
Brute, Ellen, the hysterical phobic, Nimdoc, the secretive sadist, and Ted, the cynical paranoid. Just the sort of folks you'd like to have lunch with, aren't they? The game will spend a lot more time on the history of the 5 human
They crucified
characters than
that
the original
guy.
Story did.
Cool.
Ellison says that this was the result of designer David
Oh, it's a
Sears
woman they
asking
crucified.
him a
That's not
question he'd
good.
never thought
Don't
of
crucify
before.
Why
women.
does Am bring these 5 people down? Why are these the 5 that Am has saved? And I never thought about that. And so the game is very different from the story in that we explore the backstory of all 5 of these characters.
Then, of course, there's the character of Am itself.
Am is, in a way, the 6th track, because Am is everywhere. The whole story takes place within Am. So almost anything you do can be a lie, can be a manipulation, can be a complete misdirection, because it's this nutty computer. Nutty, but it's like Moriarty. Demented, insane, clearly insane, but very cunning.
So, what kind of insanity are these folks going to have to deal with?
At one point, one of the characters finds himself in a meat locker.
Ew.
And there are all these sides of beef hanging on.
Yeah,
a
I
hook.
hate when girls are
And
crucified.
Also hanging on the hook is his ex-wife, hanging on the hook, and he has had great bitterness toward her since they were divorced. And to get out of there and to proceed and to progress, to become aware of what he needs to do to go further, he must make the ethical choice of taking her off the hook. Literally, he has to remove her from the hook.
Ellison's initial idea for the game was that the player would not be able to actually win the game, thereby keeping the dark tone of the story's original ending.
Cool.
He did say that this original concept has evolved, but he wouldn't say how much or in what way.
There is a secret. There is a secret in this game, which I cannot reveal. In fact, bamboo slivers under the fingernails could not drag from me this knowledge.
While Ellison is keeping mum about the specifics of the game, the general tone is pretty obvious.
The mood of this game is one of unrelenting angst and unsettlement. We created this game to give you all the stuff you think you want, but to put a burr into your saddle at the same time. Slip a little loco weed into your Coca-Cola.
For more information on I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, check out the interactive interview with Harlan Ellison in this episode of IE.
Putting a little what in my Coca-Cola, bro? That's fine. Anyways, it's time for Jagged Alliance.
Jagged Alliance is a game that is, something wrong?
I'm not very happy with you right now.
With moi? What did I do?
You pulled me away from playing Jagged Alliance to do this review.
Ah, you like it then, huh?
I didn't want to stop playing. It's great. But no, you have to do work. You have to make the boss happy. You have to be goody little two-shoes.
Well, why don't you tell us
Little
about
loco
it?
weed in your Coca-Cola.
Okay, Jagged Alliance is set on an island where this professor
I'm going to make this as brief as possible.
and his daughter
We're grateful to see you here.
have found a tree that has great
calm
medical
down,
powers
bro.
in its sap.
Speaking of saps, Santino, the bad guy, has taken over the island.
Find out who he is, then kill him.
It's up to your band of mercenaries to get sap production back on schedule and kick Santino and his band of thugs off the island by making him an offer he can't refuse.
First, you call AIM, the Association of International Mercenaries, to get just the right cutthroat, vicious kind of guys you need for the job.
Give me some time to evaluate you. I'm not familiar with your work.
Each character is rated in characteristics like stamina and marksmanship. Once you get the right team, you drop into the one of 60 sectors on the map that are under your control and try to expand from there.
You can control the gear that each team member has to use, and as you move around the island, there's lots more stuff to get a hold of, like the 357 Magnum, the 12-gauge rifle, the M16, M17 bombs, and
He's going
You
Tim
are
Allen
evaluated
mode.
At the end of each day, receive any money you have coming, pay your
Sorry, the
mercenaries,
LED thing
hire
fell
more
again. Hold
mercenaries,
on.
and take care
Okay,
of
there we
anything
go.
else that the game may throw at
Beautiful. I love
Non-combat
computers.
movement is in real time, and combat
See you,
mode is
Lawatu.
turn-based.
Thank you for showing
Anytime
up.
you cross over into a sector that's not under your control, you are automatically thrown into combat mode. This is where the real strategy takes place.
Like XCOM, each character has a number of action points calculated from the character's abilities. All actions, from crouching behind a tree to shooting and moving, cost a certain number of action points to perform. Each turn, the characters perform whatever actions they can until their points run out.
The combat mode was a
I forget
pleasant
what the
surprise.
main
Oftentimes, strategy games
reviewer's
don't
name
devote enough
is,
focus to
but
combat,
he
making
is
you
listed
wonder
in the
what point
credits,
was
so
of
we can
having
check
combat
those
in the
out
first place.
actually.
But Jagged Alliance has overcome this problem with a smooth and detailed turn-based combat system.
As you play along, you have expenses, like your salaries for island guards. You raise money by harvesting the sap from the trees and accomplishing various other missions. You have to hire workers and guards to protect them as they harvest the sap.
The workers and
Main
guards
guy
also
behind
cost
IE
money, so the
ended
game
up at
takes on a
EA working on
financial
sports
management
stuff.
element.
Oh, that's cool.
The processing plants
Glad
are
he got
located only in
some
certain
work out of
sectors the
this.
map, so when you exceed the amount of sap that your existing plants can handle, you have to take over other sectors with plants in them. It's all great fun.
Jagged Alliance is one of those rare games that manages to combine the best elements of role-playing, strategy, and combat into one seamless, easy-to-manage, and most important, fun game.
You will need to read through the whole manual because this game has a lot of features in it. That's okay though, because the manual was written in a language few manual writers seem to be acquainted with these days, English. It also contains a lot of humor, which is actually
Mail
funny.
City, thank you for the
This is one
raid.
game you're going to keep on your hard drive for a long time.
just traded
can I go
for
back to
16
playing now?
viewers.
And you're also going to find it very difficult to pull yourself away from it. A very good, incredibly fun game that you'll definitely want in your
Club
home
Drive is
library.
one of the fucking games of all time, and yes, it is. Welcome, thank you. Hold on. Doop. Okay. Next up, let's see the Jagged Alliance pros and cons.
Jagged Alliance isn't overly complicated. It's easy to play with lots of stuff to do and doesn't get old too quickly.
And the cons.
If you're fond of real-time action, look elsewhere. Also, this
Okay.
isn't a game you can breeze through in 45 minutes. Expect to make a substantial time investment. Is that a con?
And we should also try XCOM, Breach 2, and Warcraft. They really like Warcraft, but I don't blame them. Jungle Strike.
There have been a good number of action games transferred to the PC from other less powerful systems. A few of these have been good, lots of them have been bad. Jungle Strike is just kind of there.
I'm still not sure why this aging cartridge game has suddenly appeared in a PC CD-ROM format. It's not updated or anything, and it's not a standout. It's okay, but there's a lot more interesting stuff out there.
Jungle Strike was originally an SNES and Genesis game. It was well received on those platforms, But there's a big difference between a multimedia PC and a 16-bit video game system.
That's
And
true.
this
I
game
love
isn't
my
exactly
multimedia
new
PC.
either. Jungle Strike has been out for about 2 years on video game machines. It's fun, but so is Commander Keen and a bunch of other shareware games.
Jungle Strike is an isometric 3D action game. You prowl the 8-way scrolling landscape, usually in a helicopter, in a series of missions to thwart terrorist activities against the U.S.
Along the way, you'll collect hostages, extra fuel, and
Played
other
Jungle
goodies
Strike
by
on
means of a
Genesis.
witch.
You pretty
It's a
much just
simple
blew up
premise,
DC
but very
landmarks and
challenging.
turned it off.
This is
Okay.
definitely not a
I didn't know
shooter
you could
just
blow
breeze
up
through in a
landmarks in
day or
that
two.
game.
Unfortunately, Gremlin Interactive didn't
I'd try to
do
blow
a
up the
stellar
Eiffel
job
Tower. It
converting
just
the
looks
game
like a
to
good
PC.
target.
The Gravis gamepad would have been a natural controller choice, but Jungle Strike only supports one joystick button.
That's really obnoxious when you have 3 weapons to fire and a separate key for dodging left and right. A 4-button pad would have been the ideal stick, but you have to use the keyboard to change weapons and dodge. That's pure laziness in my opinion.
To fill space on the CD, Gremlin has resorted to that age-old shovelware principle. Really bad video that serves no purpose. There's no
Boo.
reason for this crap to be here, doesn't enhance the story, and it's not even entertaining.
It's entertaining in the same way that Ed Wood movies are entertaining. The acting is some of the worst I've ever seen, including elementary school plays.
Wow.
These guys make Keanu Reeves seem convincing.
Your nemesis is the insidious Arab terrorist Kilbaba, son of the villain from Desert Strike. Does this guy look like an Arab to you? No, he's Peter Coyote with a stupid grin. Must have been one of those Idaho Muslims.
His partner, a South American drug lord,
Man,
designed
what
to
the
dredge up
fuck?
memories of Manuel Noriega, is just as bad. Together, these two anti-thespians plod through their awful lines with all the conviction of a comatose Kevin Costner.
And of course, there's you, our hero. He's the type of guy who squints even when the sun's not in his eyes. He's a no-talent Clint Eastwood wannabe with a serious case of magnum envy.
The video doesn't even play well. Graphically, it looks okay, but you wind up with a little lost chunk of the action whenever the CD drive loads a piece of the movie, which is often. On some CD-ROMs, you can barely follow the dialogue, which, now that I think of it, is probably for the best.
This new and unimproved version of Jungle Strike won't win any distinctions. It's fun for a while, but it simply can't compete with today's PC games. Minus the video, it would have made a good shareware game. But why put it in the stores?
If action games are your thing,
It's your
wait
boy,
for Jungle
Jay.
Strike
Thank
to
you for
hit
the
discount
follow.
shelves. It shouldn't take long. Gremlin won't distinguish themselves with this one, and in the future, I think we can do without the Genesis back catalog set to cheesy video for CD release.
All right, but what are the pros and cons, chat?
Jungle Strike was fun for home video game systems, and this version retains that fun.
The cons? Please don't be racist in the cons.
The graphics are outdated, the joystick control is poorly realized, and the video sequences are a complete waste of time. It's a very hasty conversion, with no real attempt made to update this aging 16-bit title for the modern PC audience. Unless you buy Jungle Strike cheap, you're not getting your money's worth.
We should also try Desert Strike and Tubular Worlds. What about Tubular Bells? All right, Mebus. Oh, God! Chat, you okay? Oh, okay, sorry.
Microforum is trying to wedge its way into the adventure game marketplace with Mabus. I think
Mabus,
that's
I'm
how you
sorry.
pronounce it. Mabus.
That's right, like Fernando, darling, you look marvelous.
Because it's better to look good than to play good.
The game was released on 3 CD-ROMs, so it's got to be good, right?
Sure, right. Ever hear of a little number called Flash Traffic or Creature Shock?
I
Meet
love
their
Flash
bastard
Traffic,
child.
come on.
She's attractive enough, but has a serious playing disability.
Please, we prefer to think of her as interactively challenged.
So here's the plot rundown. The government is concerned about an unidentified type of radiation that was picked up by a spy satellite coming from the small South Pacific island of Alaratora. Now, Alaratora is a little weird in that it's not on hardly any maps. According to the manual, quote, it was familiar to early sailors who often found themselves either drifting in still waters or battling fierce storms, unquote.
You may ask yourself, how can the military mount a mission to a half-mythical island that isn't on any maps? How did they know that the satellite record was from that island in the first place?
For the answers to these and other questions, go fish. You'll never find out. Just let them fall down the plot hole is my advice, because things get
Yeah, it's a lot
worse
of
very
meters.
fast.
After having already trashed
I like
two
that
missions
guy.
to the island, Matlock here decides to put you on the case. Why? Because you're the best.
Yeah, you must be pretty good if you can afford to shell out the bucks for this loser.
Now, just in case anyone was worried about continuity here, check out Matlock's uniform. Supposedly, he's an admiral in the Department of Defense.
Get out of town. You mean Oxford shirts are part of the uniform now? And check out that souvenir cap from the battleship Alabama. Swanky.
You're not actually
They
going
hate
to
this
the island
game. I
yourself,
love
by
it.
the way. No, you'll be behind the remote controls of a very special tank, the Crawler 1000. Its amazing accessories include a powerful laser which can fire 3 shots before running out of power.
Then there's the powerful missile launcher, which, despite all appearances in this picture, only contains 4 missiles.
And finally, a goodly supply of powerful toxic gas, enough to attack 3 times.
It's funny, but I thought the military buildup in the 80s would have given us more resources than that.
So this effectively means that you have 10 units of death to deal out to the mutated beasties wandering the island. And before you ask, no, there is no reloading. Sometimes 1 or 2 of these weapons will jam, leaving you with even more limited choice.
And here's how combat works.
Excuse
a monster
me.
will come at you, and you will immediately know that it's going to attack you.
Look at
because your
it.
weapons will come online. If the creature's just passing by, your computer somehow
That
knows
is a
this and
creature, if I
refuses
do
to
say
fire
so
a gun.
myself.
It's amazing what they're doing with computers these days, isn't it?
When the critter comes at you, you have a few seconds of clear time to lock on with your crosshairs. If you manage to do this, the picture freezes for a couple of seconds while the CD loads the appropriate death scene. In this case, my laser chops the head off this one-horned thingy.
There's no real difference between the various creatures as far as how hard it is to kill them. They're each worth 1 death unit. Isn't that nifty? Especially when you're trying to conserve your 10 shots.
On the other hand, if you either miss or happen to fire with a jammed or empty weapon,
bummer.
The screen freezes for a couple of seconds while the CD loads up the kill you dead sequence. Then the monster kills you dead. Then your tank explodes. Then, for some reason, the whole island explodes.
Then Admiral Matlock comes back on, telling you what a jerk you are for passing yourself off as an expert when you obviously can't tie your shoes and chew gum at the same time. Then the whole world blows up. Really?
I love a game that feeds my already enormous ego. I die, the world dies. There's a synchronicity there that just...
Oh, shut up.
By the way, are you sick of looking at this interface yet?
Yeah.
Too bad. You're stuck with it for the entire game.
You might try and look at the bright side. In many ways, it's a very amusing interface. For example, look at these sensor readings which are constantly wagging on this side of the screen. This is the first time I've ever seen an unidentified meter. How can you set up a gauge to register the unknown?
You know, like, I don't know what it is, but there sure is a hell of a lot of it.
Then there's these central buttons. I get a great kick out of the fact that the manual or online help feature is the same size, same color, and in the same immediate area as the self-destruct button.
Yeah, I like
Now
that.
That's planning.
There's also this analyzer button. It's kind of neat. You press it, and then you click on something, and it tells you what it is, like this tree. It turns out that it's typical jungle growth. Phew. Am I glad to know that?
And if you find an alien artifact, it tells you that it has no idea what it is.
Then Admiral Matlock comes on and tells you that he doesn't know what it is either. Boy, the resources available to the modern military, I tell you. There's a few other interesting design things that we haven't mentioned yet. First of all, you're supposed to destroy the source of the wacko radiation in under an hour without blowing up the world.
If you're a real loser, you can set the time to 2 hours. Does that give you some idea of how jam-packed with goodies this product is? 2 hours tops. And the monsters are not moving around
I
like
am
in a
getting
real
Jackbox
video game.
vibes from one of these
They
guys.
stay where they are till you come kill them with 1 shot or until you miss.
And the world blows up. Perhaps Microforum saw that the challenge was a bit limited somewhere along the line. So what was their response?
Hey man, can we make the game a lot harder if we don't let players save their game when they get to disc 3, man?
We're not making this up, folks.
Okay, now we've been ragging on this game for the past 10 scenes. We've got to say something.
No,
good about it.
this is
It's
a.
got to be, balanced.
We're just digging through
Okay,
Interactive
nice
Entertainment
things.
issue
The rendered
13.
stuff is pretty. I like the
A
big horned
multimedia
demon
magazine,
thing on the box.
ooh.
He's cool. I never found him in the game, but he's cool anyway.
And the sound is nice. It's sort of choppy because it stops dead whenever the CD is accessed.
Which is constantly.
Now stop that. You're getting negative again. When the sound is going, it's really nice. Jungle stuff.
Okay, can we be real again? I want to talk about puzzles.
Okay, vent away.
See this? This is one of the very, very few puzzles in Mabus. You have to push one of the 6 hieroglyphics with your robot arm.
Same
If it's the right
people
one,
who
you
made
get to leave
Gooch
the building.
Grundy.
If it's the wrong
Oh.
one, you die.
And then the world blows up.
Right. The thing is, there's no way to tell which one to push except by trial and
I
error.
am a Gooch
Wow,
supporter.
What an intellectual challenge.
Uh-oh. You know what? We've run out of time.
Are you kidding? I could fill another 5 scenes, man.
Trust me, they get the point. You do get the point, don't you?
Here's a hint. This game is yet another sad example of a company claiming a product is worth the time and money just because it comes on more than one CD.
This should not be news to you, America, but bigger is not necessarily better. Ask the makers of Heaven's Gate. But you know the best thing about Maboose? It's really fun to say. Maboose.
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 All right, let's check the pros and cons. Wait,
You've been
no,
a
I
regular-
don't give a shit about Magic Candle. Get out of here. Yeah, what are the pros?
All the money in this game went into the visuals. The environment is pretty, and the jungle sounds are quite good. The box art, while misleading as hell, is gorgeous.
And the cons?
This is an action-based game with no real action. Combat is a very important element, and there's no real combat. The whole setting is meant to be mysterious, and there is no mystery. The most exciting strategy is figuring out which kind of weapon to shoot with. If you choose wrong, you die, your commanding officer gives you an incredible guilt trip, and then the whole world blows up, in that order.
Oh, don't worry. I do die a little inside whenever they say things that are truly awful. We should also play Flash Traffic, the Psychotron, and Creature Shock. Okay. Sheriff Ram, thank you for the 7-month resub. Appreciate it. All right, next up, we've got Magic Candle, Magic Carpet. Let's go to Mortal Kombat 2 32X.
Despite the fact that Mortal Kombat 2 is old news in the arcade and on 16-bit systems such as the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo, Acclaim seems intent on making the game available for more platform games than any game since Dragon's Lair. The latest stop on Mortal Kombat's world tour is the Genesis 32X. What results is the same old lethal injection of Mortal Mania with some enhanced perks over previous home versions. The 32X version truly shows off the capabilities of the machine with rich
Doesn't
colors,
that footage look
large
great?
sprites, and amazingly high audio fidelity. Although the improvements are cosmetic at best, the overall experience is certainly a step up from the Genesis. Although some players have hailed this version as the perfect arcade conversion, that's not quite true. But suffice to say, MK2 on the 32X is probably the best version players will ever see on their TV set. As the actual content of the game is a carbon copy of all other versions, it's unlikely that players will want to upgrade to the 32X version if they own the Genesis cartridge, unless they worship the fighting genre. Nonetheless,
I do
this
worship
game is certainly much
the
better
fighting
from a quality
genre.
standpoint than Sega's appalling Cosmic Carnage 32X fighting game. The 32X version is superior to the PC since it isn't limited to VGA graphics and a 256 color palette. Nonetheless, the audio in the PC version is very impressive, especially the background MIDI music. One sour note with the PC version lies in the control. Like most console systems, the 32X's controllers come out way ahead of the PC, which uses the keyboard or the not quite up to par Gravis gamepad. And you can always run out and invest in a 6-button arcade stick. It's apparent that Acclaim has practically perfected MK2. Although the 32X version isn't a perfect copy of the arcade version, it's still a high-quality piece of entertainment. Still, there are no surprises.
Winger B17, thank you for the raid! Thank you.
However, if you
Winger17
have a
just rated
32X
with 2
and are a
viewers.
serious fighting game grognard, MK2 is worth your time. Just remember to pick up plenty of whole blood.
I was in all caps there. Let's go back to... No article listing. But first, no. Okay, it's going to be doing this for a while. There we go.
Koei has been
Okay,
on
we're
top
gonna look
of
at
the
New
strategy game
Horizons. I
market for
misclicked.
some time now. Games such
Sorry.
as Aerobiz and Uncharted Waters
That's
have
okay.
gained a sort of cult following, and their sequels look to be enormous hits. Aerobiz Supersonic has been out for a while already, but the second Uncharted Waters game, New Horizons, is brand new and will be coming to the PC soon. New Horizons is a one-player strategy RPG which takes place in the Age of Discovery, circa 1522.
Well, I appreciate the raid. Thank you so much, Winger.
Heroes, each with his or her own background, proficiencies, and starting point. The objective of the game is to gain fame through adventure, piracy, and trade. Each character must go about his quest in a different manner. You begin your quest in a bustling port city, each of which contains numerous facilities such as stores, banks, taverns, and individual small businesses. Taverns are essential places to visit because the large, heavily intoxicated
gin costs 3 gold pieces.
Crew are almost always available and come pretty cheap, so hire as many as you can early on. Shipmates are more experienced and more valuable
like shitmates.
They're also a lot harder to find. Mates can possess special qualities such as celestial navigation and combat proficiency, which are nice to have early in the game and absolutely critical late in the game. The more superhero-like your mates are, the better. There are a lot of ways to make and lose money in New Horizons. You can play the market and invest in the local economy, which is fairly safe and helps your morale. Another method is to sign a contract with a collector for rare information that you collect during your travels. The more cool things you find, the more you'll get paid. Lastly, if you're desperate, you can
okay, everyone else also heard shitmates. Good.
Could I possibly say anything more about the taverns? You bet. Not only can you gamble and recruit there, but you can also treat the thirsty sailors to a couple rounds and get some inside info from them. This guy tells me how to get to Stockholm, and if I pump some more beer into him, he may even tell me what goods can be found there. When your fame level rises to a certain point, you may be granted an audience with the local head honcho. Royal missions work just like regular missions, except that the stakes are higher. Your royal rank may increase or decrease depending on how well you do. And as your royal rank goes,
yeah, I love. I'm always talking up my shitmates.
New Horizons should be an interesting game for the PC. It looks, feels, and plays more like a SNES game because it really is, but comes across very well on a computer screen. True, the days of 16-color graphics are long gone, and we all hope Koei realizes this soon. But New Horizons should not be overlooked merely because it's overly blue. In fact, it shouldn't be overlooked, period.
All right, but let's check the pros and cons of Mortal Kombat 2.
The 32X version features beautiful colors, great stereo sound, and larger character animations, which all add to the experience. If you're looking for the best conversion of Mortal Kombat 2, you need not look any further.
And the cons?
This is just more of the same. Mortal Kombat 2 for 32X offers no new features, but simply enhanced graphics and sound over other versions of the game. If you already own the game in another format, you may want to wait for Mortal Kombat 3 instead.
We should also try Street Fighter One Must Fall. And Samurai Showdown. Got it. Don't know about One Must Fall. All right. How many more games we have here? Okay, let's do the Pure War Game review.
Son, I understand that you have a copy of the Pure War Game. Did I understand correctly?
Yep, that's...
I don't think I heard you right.
Yes, sir.
Do you have said game in your possession, soldier?
Yes, sir.
Present disc, mister.
Sir, do you know how to start the computer, sir?
Don't insult me, son. I know how to start a computer. Why do you think it's called boot camp?
As you can guess, sir, the Pure War Game is just that. A war game featuring 8 different scenarios from World War II.
All right, I think I did try One Must Fall once. I remember liking it a little bit, but I might be I'm confusing it with a game featuring
I'll be the
worms.
judge of that, soldier. I want a briefing on gameplay, mister, and I wanted it yesterday!
Okay.
I can't hear you!
Sir, yes, sir. The battlefield is a replica of the historical area being played in the scenario divided into hexes. Play is carried out in turns. All of the units are placed into the exact spot where they were located in the actual battle and are represented accurately in their historical strength and movement abilities.
Movement abilities, soldier?
Sir, each unit has
Jazz
its own amount of movement
Jackrabbits
points,
and
which
One
decides
Must
how
Fall?
many hexes
Okay.
it can travel on its turn, sir.
It would seem to me that
It
Great
is
care
good,
was
then.
taken in getting the historical aspect of the game accurate. Agree with me, soldier!
Sir, yes, sir. If you wanted to change any of the conditions of the battle, you have options such as turning fatigue on and off and how radio communications affect the battle, sir. You can also modify air support and what reports you receive regularly, among other aspects, sir.
So I'd be able to test how the battle would turn out if certain conditions were changed. How does this game determine the winner, mister?
Well, sir, in each of the scenarios, there is a main objective to accomplish, but accomplishing the objective does not necessarily mean victory, sir. Everything represented on the field is worth a certain number of points, sir. Accomplishing the objectives gives enough points to virtually assure victory, sir.
But if the enemy scores more points than you, you still come out a loser. And one thing I cannot stand is a loser. Do you understand my meaning, mister?
Yes, sir.
Good. Now let's play the game.
Sir, have you ever played a computer game before, sir?
Mister, I'm a soldier, not some internet-addicted, hard drive-driven, ramshackle keyboard jockey!
Yes, sir, but the manual for this game seems to assume that you've had some experience with computer games before, sir. It covers the basics of the game, but doesn't make it very easy to learn, sir.
I'm starting to get a negative attitude from you, son!
Well, sir, this game did have some shortcomings you should know about, sir.
Explain further!
Scanning the battlefield is a slow process, and any messages that appear on the screen stop gameplay, and you have to wait for the message to go away and continue play, sir.
Is that all, soldier?
No, sir. When you want to move a unit, there's no way of telling how far on the map your unit can move unless you cozy up to the monitor and start counting X's, sir.
That is unacceptable, mister. Do you hear me? What happens if I try to move my unit out of its range?
Sir, the unit will go ahead and move towards the destination hex and stop wherever it runs out of movement points, sir.
Are you ever warned that the destination is out of the unit's range before the unit is moved?
Nope.
I can't hear you!
I mean, no, sir.
Well, that is absolutely unsatisfactory, mister! It's just silly.
Sir, the Pure War game, for all of its attention to historical detail, feels like it was designed by someone who knows war history and not how to play a computer game, sir.
Everything is present for a good game except for the interface. It's a very cold and difficult thing to deal with, and do you know what I do to things that are difficult to deal with, mister?
Sir, the Pure War game has had a lot of research invested in the historical side of the game, but has been neglected on basic gameplay features, sir. If you're looking for a good war game, sir, there are others that have the features for great gameplay. General, if you would...
Bombs away, pretzel boy.
I think the reviewer got blowed up. It happens.
Located in Flemington, New Jersey.
No. We weren't there. No, we want to do the pros and the cons, please. I wonder if they do these in the silly voice, too.
The historical facts have been covered very well.
Oh,
All
it's
of
normal.
the actual participants are included in intimate detail, along with other elements such as weather and air support.
And the cons.
The gameplay will get old and irritating after a while. Trying to move units around is very difficult since there is no range indicator in the game at all. And when the messages pop up on the screen and halt the game, it'll feel more like you're fighting the game rather than the enemy.
We should also try Panzer General, the Perfect General, and Frontlines. Okay. All right, next up, we've got a Sega Saturn review.
When you take one of the world's biggest video game titans, 64-bit computer horsepower, and the name of an ancient Roman god, you're bound to come up with only one result, the Sega Saturn. On September 2nd, nicknamed Saturn Day by Sega, North American video game enthusiasts will be able to drop a shiny CD into this sleek new video game system and unlock the terrors that lurk within. But
Yes.
first, it's off to orientation to see exactly what the Sega Saturn has crunched inside its slender plastic frame. When the Saturn jumps across the pond this fall and lands in the hands of American gamers, the system will offer 64-bit processing power and a built-in CD-ROM drive. The system uses 8 total processors, 3 of which are 32-bit RISC processors, including Sega's Titan arcade architecture. Furthermore, the Saturn claims to be the first home system to use parallel processing, which means that the system divides computing tasks into pieces, which are assigned to specialized processors.
Ooh.
All that's great, but if you're like most gamers, what's under the hood doesn't matter quite as much as how much butt you can kick, how many aliens you can nail, and how big a patch
Yeah,
you can leave on the
64-bit seems like
virtual
marketing.
magnet.
I'm pretty sure it's
Sega has a
32-bit.
tremendous lineup of software planned for the Saturn, but most importantly, they've allied with some of the giants in video game production to develop their own new system. EA and Acclaim are just 2 of the growing list of companies which have committed to bring quality products to the Saturn. Sega properties such as Virtua Fighter, Virtua Cop, and most importantly Daytona Racing will be available near the launch of the system, and they look incredible, rivaling their arcade counterparts. Although games will be the main focus of the machine, the Saturn will also be able to play Kodak photo CDs and decode MPEG video CD movies. Oh, I almost forgot. Digital karaoke will be available. Remember,
Fuck
they
yeah.
call that a feature, not a deterrent. With killer apps such as Daytona Racing lined up, in addition to Sega's gigantic user base, chances are the Saturn will be a shooting star later this year. The real question is how will it stack up compared to the Sony PlayStation and the Nintendo Ultra 64? But if IE's recent preview of the system is any indication, It looks like Sega's chips are in the right sockets.
All right. So, yeah, do they have any pros and cons? No. Boo. It's a review. You need pros and cons. Anyway, Silent Hunter.
SSI is billing Silent Hunter as a full-featured, comprehensive submarine simulator.
Basically, we have World War II in the Pacific setting, high-res graphics, very nice look, fully mapped ocean, and land masses.
To help them make this as real as possible, they brought in naval veteran William Bud Grunner to act as technical advisor. Along with his contribution to the development of Silent Hunter, Bud will also be featured in multimedia clips with tactical advice and real-life war stories to give it that authentic feel. The game itself looks very promising. Scheduled for a CD-ROM release in July of '95, the early version I had didn't have music or digitized video yet, but the gameplay elements it incorporated seemed solid. The game sports super VGA graphics with 360-degree modeling of the ships, so you have accurate-looking views from any angle.
We map the ships and such from every angle to give a real illusion of 3D images. They're not like cardboard cutouts. You really feel the size of these enemy ships.
The programmers have also used water effects reminiscent of the technology used in Comanche. The point-and-click interface has menu buttons on each screen to help you move easily from one section of the sub to another. When you want to move more than one level away,
I mean, those styles
hotkeys on
look
the
really
keyboard that
good.
take you there instantly. You start in the main control area of the sub with options to go to any of the other areas, which include the scope, bridge, the chart area, and the gauges. From the bridge, you can get an idea of what's around you, as long as you're on the surface, of course. You can look around in normal viewing mode, you can switch to the binoculars, which allow you to zoom in on targets and fire. Also, you can control navigation from this view. In fact, you can navigate from virtually any view, which will no doubt prove to be a godsend once the torpedoes start flying. From the charts, you get an idea of where you are on the map with the basic zoom features that you would expect. As mentioned before, navigational abilities are available here. I wasn't able to do anything other than see where I was, but whether or not anything will be added to this later on remains to be seen. The scope works basically the same as the bridge binoculars, except that you don't need to be at the surface. You can fire at ships and zoom in on targets, and again, you can control navigation from here. The gauges option gives you all of the working details of the subsystems, including navigation, battery status, and power output. There is also a time compression feature that allows you to go from real time up to 8 times the normal speed. In the early version I played, there were 9 different American subs you could choose to play, along with one mission, but the final version should have individual missions as well as full campaigns to enjoy.
Gato, I like those.
World War II film footage, cinematics, and narration.
I got 2 gatos at home.
It will be enemy shipping, of course, but we'll feature all of the actions that a sub in this period would take on: coastal watch, rescue, downed airmen, intelligence missions, camera stuff.
So far, it seems that SSI could have a very solid, enjoyable submarine simulation with Silent Hunter. How it'll compare to the existing games remains to be seen, since in the version I had, some of the features were not added on yet, but it still looks promising. If you like this kind of game, be sure to keep Silent Hunter in mind in the months to come, and keep an eye on IE for details.
All right, if you like a game, play the game. All right, next up, Ticonderoga.
And there shall come forth from the collective minds at Mindscape a game of naval warfare, of command cunning, of
a lot of naval
high-tech
warfare this
action,
episode.
And that game shall be USS Ticonderoga.
This is
Life
May
and Death on the High
1995.
Seas.
Let me try that again. It's May
On
1995.
the game screen, though, it's USS Ticonderoga, Defender of Liberty. But don't worry, the best we can figure, it's all the same game.
USS Ticonderoga puts you on a Ticonderoga-class naval vessel armed to the teeth with all the latest weaponry. With this, you go into various theaters of war and do battle in different scenarios.
The scenarios aren't games in and of themselves, however. When you start in one theater of war, you're given your first mission, and the subsequent missions all lock in together for a campaign feel.
You'd better save your progress along the way. You can't choose which scenario you play. You have to progress through the levels.
Gameplay consists of a set of screens that you can access for different information or to issue commands. You get to any of the screens by walking around the ship until you reach the specific station you want, and then just click on that station to get the screen you want.
When walking around the ship, the designers incorporated an almost mist-like interface. You move left and right.
I do
or
like the
straight
idea of a
ahead with the
submarine
mouse
with
arrow.
mist-like
And there are
interface.
various
Coffee cup.
places around the ship which
Think there's
have
real coffee in
nothing to do
there?
with gameplay. such as the cabin.
Are you one of them fancy lads? You know, I hate them.
I am one of them fancy
where there are
lads,
things
actually.
like this cactus that you can touch. This is an absolutely weird thing to have in the game, but gameplay doesn't seem to suffer because of it. It's just, weird.
The game uses a series of stations and map screens to fire at targets and set courses. All of this is handled easily enough by pointing and clicking once you get used to what screens handle what. But that comes quickly.
Most stations and screens have hotkeys that you can use to access them in a flash, but oddly enough, there are some screens that don't. You have to access their station and then click on the screen to access it. Why do it like this? Why not go all the way and give all the screens one?
Oh well, they are minor screens, and if
Bisexual
you can overlook
lighting,
this
by the
minor
way.
oddity,
Just
you
want to
really
point that
won't
out.
notice it. One thing you will notice, however,
I think
is
I point
the
that
amount
out
of time
anytime
it
I
takes
see
to
blue
get
and
from
pink.
one screen to the next. When you're in the heat of battle, you'll be switching screens like a channel surfer on crack. So when it takes a second to change screens or stations, you notice it.
One reason for the delay is that Ticonderoga incorporates some nice-looking rendered video throughout the game. When you fire a missile, you sometimes get a quick snippet of a missile launching. Or if a ship gets hit, you may see that too. You can turn these animations off, which helps some, but switching screens still takes time. One neat aspect of the game is that sometimes you're just given a set of decisions to make, and then based on those decisions you see a short rendered movie showing you what happened. There's no battle screen interaction, just decision making.
It's a fun part of the game, but folks who just want to play the battle portion may not like it as much. It's not a big portion of the game, but I thought it was a nice touch.
Basically, Ticonderoga is a solid game with a few minor flaws like the jumpy mouse controls, but it's actually a lot of fun to play.
A lot of the combat sims out there are so heavy in the simulation of the ships and situations that a lot of the fun is taken out of them. With Ticonderoga, however, you still get to make strategic decisions, shoot the bad guys, and it's not too simulation intensive, so it remains just plain fun to play.
And if you like semi-off-the-wall things, you'll find some of the features in this game entertaining. But if you want your action straight, you can just skip it and play the game.
I never want my
Ticonderoga
action
is a game
straight.
I wasn't sure I was going to like at first, but after playing it for a while, it's grown on me for no other reason except that it's a fairly well-done game that's just plain fun and entertaining.
All right, but what are the pros and cons?
Some nice surprises in the missions and scenarios, and good overall gameplay.
And the cons?
Switching between scenes is slow, and some folks may be turned off by the linear scenario selection, which requires you to complete one scenario before advancing to the next.
We should also try Harpoon, the Great Naval Battle Series for hardcore simulation people. Okay. Next up, it's Top Gun. Oh my God, they're reviewing Virtuoso. Oh my God, I'm so excited for that. But Top Gun.
On a recent visit to Microprose UK, we got our first look at Top Gun. A flight simulator based on the well-known film starring Tom Cruise, Top Gun will shoot for the same high-flying, bare-chested, testosterone-laden feeling most people associate with the movie. Top Gun is a flight simulator with the emphasis on flight rather than simulator. It's designed to get you up in the air and flying around rather than messing around with detailed simulation stuff. You'll be more free to worry about shooting down the bad guys instead of how to keep the plane flying straight. So when Flying Ace Bob gets on your tail, it's easier to think about avoiding that missile than keeping your flaps in line with the Earth's magnetic field or something like that. It'll be a very easy game to play without a lot of key presses or a large manual to read. Instead, there'll be an online help feature throughout the game. Top Gun puts you in the role of Maverick as you initially go through training school competing against your other compadres.
Hey Ed,
for the
we're
title
finishing
of
up our
Top
look
Gun.
at Interactive Entertainment issue
movie,
13.
Iceman is the one you're gunning for and competing
Yeah, I think
against.
of Top Gun,
Top
I think
Gun
of
the
men
game
making
tries to
out.
complete the tie-in
Or
with Top
specifically
Gun the
men who
movie
want
by
to make
featuring
out, but they are
James
stopped
Tolkien,
by
the
it, so they have to
bald-headed
play
guy from the movie,
volleyball
as
instead.
Hondo, your instructor. Some of the other characters from the movie, like Hollywood, are featured, but none of the actors except for James Tolkien appear in the game. Other actors from the movie were
Oh, they
still
couldn't
being
get the
approached
Tom
to appear in
Cruise
the game,
likeness? You
but
don't
no
say.
confirmation of Tom Cruise or Val Kilmer yet. Sorry, ladies. You'll fly the F-14, but
Or
various
men.
other aircraft will be flying around. Throughout training and other missions, you'll come into contact with Russian-made Hind helicopters, MiG jets, and so on. Although there are strong tie-ins with the movie, Top Gun is a game which stands on its own without sacrificing gameplay for Hollywood glitz. This being the age of multimedia, Top Gun features digitized cutscenes from the movie and video sequences in which Hondo evaluates you on your performance. There's also a storyline in Top Gun, the final result of which will be dependent on your actions and input throughout the game. Microprose's Jason Dutton explains.
You'll be uncovering a plot, and there's actually a bizarre storyline behind it in terms of these black pilots and Iceman as well, who's actually your friend and stuff like that. So it's not completely linear, but it's not 100% non-linear as well. There is a mission structure there.
The graphics in Top Gun are nice, and the gameplay was smooth. The minimum required machine being kicked around is a 486-33, but that is at a reduced graphics resolution. For the Super VGA graphics, a 486 DX260 is recommended. There'll be various features and gameplay options that can be toggled to adjust the game's speed to suit your taste. Top Gun is planned to be released at roughly the same time as Top Gun 2, the movie sequel. Aimed at a less technically sophisticated audience than most modern flight sims, the game will offer shoot-'em-up gameplay with advanced graphics without a lot of technical demand.
Hey, I don't think Top Gun 2 came out that quickly.
The Spectrum Holobyte label in the U.S. should be on shelves around July of '95.
But what about Virtuoso?
Virtuoso is the first release from Vic Tokai, newcomers to computer games. If it's any indication,
Vic
they should cut their
okay, I
losses
guess
and
it's their
sneak
first
out of
PC
town.
release, you mean?
Virtuoso isn't just bad, it's embarrassing, right?
Right. I never thought I'd see a Doom clone that could make Operation Body Count look good. What did they write this thing on, a PC Junior? Has anybody at Vic Tokai ever played a PC game before?
In Virtuoso, you play a rock star who's grown tired of the day-to-day grind.
Yeah, what a hard life it is. Rocking out, making lots of money, fending off lusty, buxom groupies. It's hell, I tell you, hell!
So, John Bon Jovi wannabe that you are, you decide to take a virtual reality vacation and blow some stuff up. Killer premise, huh?
It's so cool they forgot to mention it in the game. So Virtuoso is a game about a guy playing a game.
Isn't that the coolest idea you've ever heard of?
The coolest since some marketing dude thought of releasing a game, then waiting a year to finish it.
For reasons I've yet to understand, you play the game in third-person perspective, so you actually see your character.
Is this a game or an ad for Pantene anti-pixelating gel?
You may ask yourself, why such big hair?
I don't know why. Maybe to prove to the world that they can digitize an actor into a game?
They sure did a bang-up job there. Welcome to the exciting world of 16-color humanoids. The white zone is for loading and unloading only.
In Virtuoso, you'll blast your way through 3 different game worlds, just like in a real first-person shooter.
Boy, have we got some excitement in store for your virtual holiday. To start with, there's Mars, a big, dull red place inhabited by crab-like things, bats, big insects, and robots. Catch the fever, baby.
And if you get sick of
Yes,
Mars,
my favorite level.
Folks. We're talking 10 minutes here.
You can go to a haunted house and fight big snowballs, birds, and a malevolent snowman.
Quick, someone call Stephen
Oh, thank you, Super Inkburst, for the follow. I hit my follower goal. Nice. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the support.
You can pack a cooler full of Zima and head to Virtuoso's third setting, the beach.
If Mars puts a load in your pants, you'll never survive the mind-numbing horror of killer crabs and satanic seagulls.
This sort of thing would be funny if Virtuoso didn't take itself seriously.
Grasslam, thank you for the follow as well. Appreciate
still
it.
funny. I haven't laughed at a game in a long time. Playing Virtuoso is like watching an Ed Wood movie, except the jokes wear thin after a few minutes.
We've talked about the jaw-dropping locales. Now let's talk about all the cool things you can do in Doom that you can't do in Virtuoso.
How much time have we got?
Barely enough. Let's start with running. You can't run in Virtuoso.
Well, that was
load
an
in your
overrated
pants,
feature
yep.
anyway. We're better off without it. How about dodging? You know, the Alt key?
Why would you want to move left and right when you fire? For that matter, why would you want to move forward or backward while you fire?
I guess you wouldn't, because Vic sure doesn't think you should, and they know best because this is the best game I've ever seen for the TRS-80. Now, we should cover the coolest feature of the game, one that those fools at id must be kicking themselves for not including in Doom.
You mean the wall slide?
Yes. When you get close to a wall, you slide along with your back up against it. It's stealthy. It's so cool.
Of course, you can't fire or walk backwards when you're doing it, but those are only minor considerations.
Yeah, who cares about shooting when you can control a rock dude that looks this cool?
Now tell them about the auto map. People, you're gonna go blind with ecstasy when you hear about Virtuoso's awesome auto map. Go ahead, tell them.
There isn't
Blind
one.
with
Right.
ecstasy.
Who needs them anyway?
A load in
You
your
can just
pants,
pick up
blind
this
with
cool
ecstasy,
level
folks.
Map instead. The whole level at a glance. Isn't that great?
I had to use the big map lots, because a lot of the levels just have one path from the start to the end, so I got lost a lot.
See? Aren't you glad you have that cool map?
If this hasn't convinced you what a cool game Virtuoso is, nothing will.
Especially playing it.
If you love stupid premises, ugly graphics, non-threatening monsters, and clunky engines that feel like they were designed in 1985, you can't do without Virtuoso.
It's like a Winger album for your PC. What could rule more?
So, not a big fan of Virtuoso, but what are the pros?
Some of the monsters don't look half bad.
Some of the monsters don't look half bad. The cons?
The premise is ridiculous. The rock dude's hair gets in the way. The monsters are stupid. The game isn't challenging, exciting, or even interesting. The levels are ludicrously simple. The 3D engine is unforgivably clunky. You can't run or dodge at all, and you can't move forward or backward while firing. Virtuoso serves no purpose except as an object of ridicule.
We should also try intensive psychotherapy and Operation Body Count and Jump Raven. I know intensive psychotherapy isn't a game, but I would play that. All right, next up, another classic of game, Voyeur.
Voyeur from Interplay and Philips is not a new product. It was one of the first releases available for the CDI system back in early '94. But it's only now being made available for the PC.
And if you're hoping that it has somehow become less lame in the past year, I'm afraid the answer is no.
Aww.
You play, well, you don't really know who you play, except that you're across the street from the house of potential presidential candidate Reed Hawk. You must be working for somebody, but the designers of the game didn't care enough to tell you who.
Hey, why should you worry about that? All you need to know is that Reed Hawk is a major sleazoid and he's going to kill a member of his family this weekend. If you don't capture evidence on your video camera, he'll not only get away with the crime, but he may end up as President of the United States.
Hawk is played by television veteran Robert Culp, so an administration under this jerk might not seem like such a bad idea if you used to be a fan of I, Spy or The Greatest American Hero.
That's his sister, played by Grace Zabriskie, who
Believe
used to be the
it
late
or
Laura
not,
Palmer's mom
I'm
on
playing
Twin Peaks.
Voyeur.
She's no
I
stranger
never
to
thought
melodramatic
it could be
overacting,
so.
and here she really plays to her strengths, being weird, creepy, and chronically depressed.
This is the apartment you've been set up in to catch the all-important evidence. You have a television which only receives broadcast signals once, so you can get some background on the Hawks and so you can be exposed to this woman. Sadly, she doesn't even stand a chance of being murdered in this game. Where's the justice?
If you capture some incriminating evidence on tape, you can call the police, and they'll send this happy character to check your story. If you actually figured out who's going to be killed before it happens, you can send your videotape to the endangered party and they'll go to the cops.
And this is your all-important camcorder. What a strange device it is. On the one hand, it's incredibly powerful. Not only can you look into windows and hear the conversations with crystal clarity, but you can examine files on desks across the street and even turn the pages.
Impressive.
At one point, I overheard one of the characters thinking. Really?
Yeah, it's like one of those AT&T commercials. Ever eavesdropped on a neighbor's most intimate musings? You will! But this great camera also runs entirely on battery power, despite the fact that you're in an apartment, which presumably has outlets in the wall. You apparently only have one battery, too. It runs
You can't
for about
use outlets.
5 minutes,
It's a different
and can take
type of
anywhere from half an hour to 4 hours to
voltage,
recharge.
I think.
As
I
you
assume.
observe your famous neighbors, you choose between
A big
video
bottle
clips,
of
audio clips,
Valium.
or just looking at the stuff in empty rooms.
There's different stuff going on in different rooms at the same time. To win the game, you need to be looking in the right place at the right time. And if you happen to be watching a sexual encounter in the making, hey, everybody wins.
While we're on the subject of sex, this is perhaps one of the most misleading things about this game. The advertisements surrounding this game are even more provocative than those for Noctropolis. The game even opens with a special security screen so you can keep the kids from playing.
But Voyeur barely has anything in it that isn't allowed on network TV these days, with the occasional 4-letter word as an exception. There's lots and lots of underwear and innuendo, but if you're expecting something beyond the PG-13 range, you're going to be really disappointed when the camera discreetly turns itself off at the juiciest moments.
Let's face it, all these problems were already there when Voyeur was first released. It's just as much a tease now as it was then. Only now, games like Under a Killing Moon and the Daedalus Encounter have come out, showing up the video here for the pixelated, blocky mess that it is.
This seems to be characteristic of the CDI titles that are being transferred to PC. They were no great shakes on their original platform, but then there was no competition. Why would anyone deliberately choose to play Voyeur over all the far better PC titles out there?
Because they hope to see some nipples. Sad but true. Folks, the only nipples here are male, and those are few.
Only nipples here are male. The pros of a voyeur.
At least there's lots of underwear. If you're addicted to your afternoon stories, you may really love this game. It's the best Peeping Tom game on the market.
And the cons of voyeur.
Any attempt to impose any real logic on this game unravels like a loosely knitted sweater. The video was pretty good for its time, but these days it's blocky and sad.
We should also try Under a Killing Moon, Clue, and General Hospital Interactive. Folks, is that a goof 'em up that they made, or is that a real fucking game? Because I would love to play a General Hospital Interactive. All right, what we have left here? Okay, we already saw the preview for Warhammer. Let's go to Warriors.
PC fighting games have been a mixed bag. High-quality games like One Must Fall and the PC
Yeah, you see more nipples in Heart of Darkness.
Deserve recognition, but the whole genre can easily be dealt a black eye by high-profile fighters like Rise of the Robots that promise the world but deliver pretty graphics layered over an Intellivision game. But it looks like a quality fighter is fast approaching in the form of Warriors from Mindscape. In Warriors, the greatest fighters in human history have been brought by magical force to a strange land. Your host is the Master, an evil thingy who's long on power but short on self-esteem. He's gathered the fighters together so he may beat them into bloody pulps, thus proving that he is the ultimate warrior of the universe. An egomaniac this ugly is just begging to be pummeled, don't you think? The fighters in Warriors are many and varied. You'll have your choice between 10 unique characters, which range from athletic women to an anarchistic punk with goofy boots to some kind of deformed cross between a lizard
evil
and
thingy.
200 pounds of peat moss. Naturally, each character will have a collection of common moves and a bevy of powerful special attacks to really tear into opponents with. And here are some of the faces you won't be seeing in Warriors. Well, not in regular play anyway. If there's one thing every fighting game fan loves, it's blood, but a very close second is hidden stuff. There are hidden characters galore in Warriors, from basketball players to Playboy bunnies. For two-player games, there will also be a cheat code allowing you to play as the Master. Many fighting games create their characters with either digitized actors for a lifelike look, or with complex polygonal figures for speed and fluid movement. Warriors relies on neither of these techniques. Atreed, the French design team producing Warriors for Mindscape, have come up with a new technique of drawing and animating the characters, a process called 3D biomotion. With
3D biomotion,
characters are not drawn with polygons or solid shapes, but with dots. Each character is comprised of a little less than 18,000 dots. The computer then manages each character as a virtual model, calculating each of the character's actions in real time. This gives the artists freedom to design complex characters with smooth animation. There'll be 11 backgrounds to fight in. As you can see, these settings are rich in graphic detail, but that's not all. Each background is interactive. For example, one background allows players to jump and grab a hold of a hook. From there, the player can rattle off a series of devastating kicks to the face of
Yeah, this is this graphic style is fascinating.
Warriors looks like a game that will improve the position of fighting games on the PC instead of weakening it. The graphics are handsome, and there's a good variety of characters.
The graphics are so handsome.
Interactive backgrounds and weapons for 5 of the 10 characters are additional features that will help this fighter stand out from the pack. Look for a full review of Warriors here in IE when the game is released.
All right, they liked Warriors. All right, next up, we got 2 reviews left. We've got XCOM, Terror from the Deep.
Last year, an unheard-of British game from Microprose became a surprise hit here in America. Nobody saw XCOM UFO Defense coming, and all of a sudden, nobody could put it down. Now, Microprose continues the invasion with Terror from the Deep.
More missions, more aliens, and more valiant soldiers for you to lead into almost certain death. XCOM actually made me enjoy getting my ass kicked, and Terror from the Deep extends that masochism into a new game.
At the end of the first XCOM game, you wiped out the aliens' base on Mars.
You should have known by then that these guys don't give up that easily.
An energy beam was released from the dying base. Its target, Earth's oceans.
It seems your alien buddies had a contingency plan. Hordes of aliens lying in stasis on the ocean floor. Before long, they're up to their old tricks again, which means it's time for you to get back into the action.
The game itself hasn't really
Back
changed
into
at
shit
all
again.
with this sequel. Like before, you start off in the geoscope. This is a rotatable view of the Earth. Here you will establish floating XCOM bases and keep an eye out for alien activity.
The first time you see aliens, they will probably be tooling around in a flying sub. Once you spot one, you send out an intercept ship to take it down. If you're successful in crashing the sub, you get to send out a squad to investigate.
As opposed to XCOM's land-based battles, the crash sites in Terror from the Deep are underwater. Again, this doesn't change gameplay very much, but it gives the game a new look and some new scenery.
There's actually quite a bit more animation on the battlefield now. Bubbles float up from your diving suits, and projectile weapons like harpoon guns leave wakes in the water when fired. And hey, aquamarine!
Kind of a bold-fashioned statement, isn't it?
Hey, the aliens can wear gold rayon jumpsuits if they want, as long
You
as they
played
let me
this and
kill
got
them.
stuck on an
Naturally,
invasion
the
mission for
aliens in
hours where the
Terror from
last
the Deep
alien
will
was
be of a
hiding
slightly
from you.
different
Oh,
breed than
that's
those of
delightful.
This means you'll have new friends to get to know, and you'd better do it quickly.
Getting to know people is more than just neighborly. It'll save your life. Putting your scientists to work on alien corpses you recover from missions does two things for you. First, it can lead you to more effective weapons, and it also lets you see some good
I like this little
artwork of
freak
some
creature.
really disgusting creatures.
With the change of location, you'll be dealing with new equipment. Most of this stuff is the functional equivalent of the gear you used in XCOM, but you'll still have to learn what weapon works best in different situations.
You also have to consider where you're fighting. The alien subcrashes take place on the ocean floor, but the more difficult terror missions can take place on land or on a ship. Some of your equipment isn't designed for use above the waves, so you'll have to outfit your squad carefully.
Terror from the Deep is a terrific game, but players looking for something radically new will be in for a bit of a letdown. All aspects of gameplay are pretty much identical to XCOM. This is just a group of new missions and new graphics.
It's an expansion
I'm not
pack,
a
I
big
guess.
supporter of this trend of releasing sequels with the same game engines as their predecessors. I thought that's what mission discs were for. Terror from the Deep is a worthy purchase, but why did they have to turn it into a whole separate game?
If you're an XCOM veteran, Terror from the Deep is exactly what you need for good alien bashing fun. All the excitement, danger, and addictive gameplay of XCOM is here.
Novices may want to play UFO Defense before jumping into Terror from the Deep, just because they'll enjoy continuing on to the sequel. Microprose hasn't changed the game much, but there's not that much that needed changing. Terror from the Deep is first-class entertainment, a strategy game to be reckoned with.
All right, they really like Terror from the Deep, but they like...
It's hard to
Oh,
explain
I guess we're doing
why
Zorro.
the Zorro
Sorry,
character was
misclick.
so popular. From
But it's
Tyrone
Zorro.
Power to George Hamilton to Duncan Roger, the dashing black-clad hero of Spanish Los Angeles is always a crowd pleaser because, gosh darn it, it's just fun, that's all. Leave it to Capstone to find a way to take all the fun out of the Fox in their recent CD-ROM game. Capstone's Zorro is, in a nutshell, an attempt to pawn off a bad Prince of Persia ripoff on the public by disguising it as an interactive
Oh,
movie.
yeah, Capstone's
This may
not
seem
known
like
for
quite a
making
challenge,
good
but
stuff.
there are segments of interactive video
Sorry,
between the
I'm a
games
Capstone
that
hater.
supposedly help you in your quest. These scenes never venture outside, and it's hard to imagine someone less impressive in the black mask than this guy. His body language doesn't say swashbuckling hero as much as it says milkman, or perhaps chartered accountant.
He does look like a
Eventually, you get to the
nerd.
game. You have to get all the stolen gold from this mine shaft in order to leave it and go on to the next level. All I can say is good luck. The level is utterly huge, and it's way too easy to fall to your death. If you try to be clever and save your game, you'll find that you lose all your gold and have to start your quest all over. But hey, at least you're still standing where you saved. When you die, and you will, combat probably won't be your undoing. You have a choice of using your sword or your whip. The problem is that there's no reason to ever use the sword, since the whip is easier to maneuver with and has a longer range on it. Invariably, you can take out your opponent by holding down the control key and yawning. For what it's worth, the graphics and music are okay for this sort of thing. It seems silly to put it on a CD, though. The digital video is obviously space filler and pretty bad filler at that. As for the actual game, you'd probably be better off getting Prince of Persia. I mean, it's actually fun.
Okay, but let's see what the pros and cons are for X.
Soccer
Stop! Sorry, the one really horrible thing about this is that the little highlighter will just kind of zip around the screen like so. So you have to be really quick when you... There we go.
Last year,
we should see the pros.
the same addictive gameplay from XCOM is here in Terror from the Deep. There is also a little more animation on the battlefield and more natural cover in the terrain.
And the cons.
The gameplay is identical to XCOM, which will disappoint people looking for new features. Although there was little wrong with the first game, it would still be nice to see a new engine.
We should also try XCOM, Breach 2, and Jagged Alliance, also reviewed in this issue. All right, what are the pros and cons of Zorro?
Sales of Prince of Persia will skyrocket.
And the cons?
The idea of an interactive movie starring Zorro is a good one, and this isn't it. It'll just leave you frustrated and wanting to watch Zorro the Gay Blade.
I do like the Gay Blade. We should also try Prince of Persia, Blackthorn, and Out of This World. Folks, with that, we have finished this issue of Interactive Entertainment. Let's see what demos are on this. Minecraft's Magic Candle 3, The Lost Mind of Dr. Brain, which is really an interesting kids title, Microprose's XCOM, and SSI's Thunderscape. Okay. With that, I think we'll be ending here. What did we learn today? We learned that there's that Warhammer game that never came out looked pretty good. We learned that Voyeur, not so good. And we learned that they have a lot of really stupid ideas about Muslims. What a great game. What a great magazine. Anyways, what's up next?
Just look at what's ahead in an upcoming episode of
and the Harlan Ellison interview was insane.
Warcraft 2. And keep an eye out for Interactive Magic's Apache, Virgin's The 11th Hour, and in our continuing company profile series, we'll take a look into Looking Glass Technologies. See you next time, cyberfans.
So it changed from Xena to this when I was, I don't know how that happened. Let's see if I can change it back to Xena. Hold on. Active desktop. No. I want Xena back. Folks, we got to get Xena back before I go. Hold on. Xena, come back. No, we want Xena. Xena V1.2. I guess Rotate Theme Monthly needs to be unchecked. There we go. She's back, baby. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I think I need to change the background here. Hold on. Don't do it as a tile. Do it in the center. There we go. There's our gal. All right. And with that, it is now safe to turn off your computer. My computer turned off. Thank you so much, folks, for showing up and watching me go through issue 13 of Interactive Entertainment. Thank you to all the new subs, new follows, all those good folks. Thank you so much. I appreciate it very, very much. Next week, I'm doing more American Truck Simulator. I'm going to be looking for more tapes to show off, so be on the lookout for that. Tomorrow, I'm streaming with Danny and Sarduce on RetroPals, so do check out RetroPals. And ATS just got a huge update. Oh, cool. I got to update my stuff. All right. Cool. I'm looking forward to that. I will see you next Tuesday at Rescue Cat or Wednesday at RetroPals. Thank you all so very much for watching and have a great day. Bye.